Welcome to the No Practice Podcast, where we cover the only sport in the world where there is no practice. With your mini rod driving host, Adam Kester, Tyler Slaw, and Chase Richardson. Strap in for some debates on the world of pulling, exclusive special guests, and a whole lot of nonsense BS. The No Practice Podcast starts now.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode number 62 of the No Practice Podcast, joined as always by myself, Mr. Chase Richardson, and Mr. Adam Kester. Adam Kester, a late entry into the show. I actually had his name pulled up on my phone. Chase and I had discussed we were going to call him the moment the show went live if he wasn't here, but Adam told us earlier in the day, he said, I will be joining just before 7, and lo and behold, at 6:59 his time, 7:59 mine, Adam popped up and he said, hey, I was backstage. And that's all we heard from Adam before the screen went black and the intro started. Adam, how are we doing this evening?
Feel like I'm running behind like normal.
Yeah.
A man of his word. Adam, what was the drink you were drinking there a second ago?
It's actually the first thing I grabbed out of the refrigerator because there's no water in there.
No strategy behind it.
No, just a quick grab, and it's not a beer, but it's close.
You normally have Busch Light stocked to the nines in that.
Oh, I do.
Oh, you just missed those. Mini rod pulling time, baby. No Busch Light.
No, I seen. Yeah, I see some other people haven't been drinking Busch Lights either.
What does that mean?
I caught that.
Just saying.
I got that.
Okay.
Here we go. Get shit.
No, anyways, no, like I told the guys earlier, like I'm going to go ahead and apologize. I'm probably going to hop off here just after our intro in a little bit. I have some guys coming over to help me. I have yet to start a single vehicle.
Come on.
I just got the clutches back. Yesterday, worked late till 12:30 last night getting everything put back together. Had a full day of work today. And then, I just hope everything starts and goes in and out of gear. That would be a blessing at this point.
So while we have you here, what is different between now and the last time you pulled was at Nashville, Illinois,
right? Yeah, I guess it would be. I didn't think about that. Yeah. Entirely different engine in the blue tractor. Never ran that combination ever, so it should be interesting. The red and the black tractor have both been just rebuilt, freshened up, rings, bearings, stuff like that, rods. Check the crankshaft, tone the cylinders, just kind of look at the valve heads and all that stuff. And sent my clutches out to get gone through just to do the normal maintenance there. Whether that happened or it didn't, I did get them back.
What does that mean? What are you implying?
I don't know. You send the clutches out to get looked at, and I guess that's all they did was look at them because there ain't been anything else done to them. So got those back, luckily. Everything looked really good. These mini rods, I don't know. Do you guys look at your clutches very much in the minis?
I will inspect like the fingers on them because you hear about guys breaking fingers. And obviously when I put them on, you kind of inspect all of the discs and everything, just making sure nothing's cracked, broke, or falling apart. But beyond that, we never send them in to get inspected.
Well, honestly, when I want to send one in to get looked at, it's to have the fingers, magnafluxed or whatever they do to them, because it is the issue, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I did have a disc a couple years ago break. The center came out of it. Ended up finding a few things. So I usually try to put new discs in every year or two and new floaters and, get the pressure plate and the flywheel surfaced and, just maintenance, right? So
There was a time when it was required to have your clutches inspected, right, every year.
Yeah, but
right.
not by a clutch OEM necessarily. Like I can recall times when a NTPA tech official would come to my father's place, and we'd have all 5 clutches from the Unlimited tractor laying there, and he would kind of flip them around and look at them, kind of, I guess, much like what I was describing, just kind of visually inspecting them and just say,
Right.
yep, you're good. And you'd get your clutch inspection papers. I don't know what was saying, are those the clutches you have in there? I don't know what would keep a fella from getting a clutch inspected and then putting a different clutch in there, because that's never checked, which is perhaps why they did away with that.
And there was a time where you had to have your clutch papers to pass tech, right? Like, here's my clutch
Yes.
papers.
Yeah, but they weren't going to take the clutch can off and read all the numbers off the discs or the floaters and all this
Right.
stuff. So I mean, it was
Right.
kind of a
It was kind of it was like a cheat code system, like who could jailbreak the system, right? Not that anybody would do that, but
As long as you had clutch papers, you were good. But now, of course, we have bell housing inspections, because I think they've moved the focus point from the clutches to the bell housings, being that the bell housing is supposed to contain everything inside of it, that being the clutch. And so everybody sends their bell housings in to get inspected. We have 3 of them that we bought at the same time, and one is just a spare, excuse me, that's never even been bolted on the tractor. But enough time has passed, it was no longer an inspection. So we had to take a brand new bell housing out of the perfect box untouched and bring that back to the OEM and say, does this still look good? So that they could put a sticker on it and say, yes, this is still good. So
for
yeah,
$400. They told you that, I'm sure.
yeah, I guess every rule, has its unique scenario where you can pinpoint it. But I do agree, if it's a clutch can that you're running, it's probably good to get that re-inspected.
Adam, we've talked off air, and I saw, I can't remember, maybe it was before the last show, a Facebook post talking about aluminum clutch cans. I don't know if you'll still be on here, but Travis, I want to make sure we have the right questions to ask him. What can we talk about? The NTPA outlaw, or whatever you want to call it, adopted the rule where there's no more aluminum bell housings or clutch cans of legal after 26, I believe. Don't tell me if I should know this, but I don't. After 26, like, what do we know, or what kind of correspondence should we be asking to Travis or anyone out there on this?
I mean, Travis has a lot of jobs, but building bell housings isn't one. I would just get the bell housing manufacturer on and ask those questions to that guy so he could answer those questions. I'm an engine guy. I'm a manufacturer, but I'm an engine guy. So in that regard, I mean, there's no questions you can ask him that he would truly know without manufacturing a bell housing. So I think we'll put that off to another time, but it is what it is as far as that goes.
What's the issue, though? I'm asking from your standpoint.
My issue?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think this all stems back to a four-wheel drive puller. They're not going to list any names. Let's just say there's a 68 tooth ring gear that people use a crank mounted or a flywheel mounted starter, and a 68 tooth ring gear will not fit on a bell housing. So if you run a 66 tooth, it would clear. Well, 68 tooth wouldn't, so the guy modified the clutch can and cut the liner so it would clear. Well, when the clutch failed, the ring gear on the flywheel chewed the aluminum bell housing up. Hence, it failed, but it was modified, not the SFI approved bell housing.
I never knew that.
Yeah, that's what this whole thing is about.
So Adam, I doing my little bit of non-expert research. There's not another motorsport, and I know that I believe the rule is to blanket across the board, right? It's no aluminum cans on any class. Is that, I believe, is what the rule is? Is that right? As far as
I I guess that's what they're
Well,
imposing.
as far as I know, someone can comment different. Please say it, but
well, that's what I said. You just get the bell housing guy. He'll answer every question you've ever had.
but there is not another major motorsport or comparable motorsport that allows aluminum bell housings on supercharged type engines other than tractor pulling. From what I understand, have you all heard that before?
Because most of them use ring gears.
But I'm just saying, have you all, is that accurate or is that bad
Oh,
information?
I don't know.
I wouldn't know.
I don't know either. So that's why I wanted to ask. Make sure what I was hearing was accurate, inaccurate. It sounds like none of us know.
Hence, get the bell housing guy on. He'll answer all those questions.
But if we're going to get on the internet and have an opinion, we should have it to be able to back our opinion, right, Adam?
Okay, just typing it into Chat GPT here. I said, is an aluminum bell housing allowed in sanctioning bodies of high performance motorsports if it's in spec? And it just says, short answer, yes. Aluminum bell housings are generally allowed in most major sanctioning bodies, but only if they meet the SFI required specification for those class rules.
Which they do.
For a supercharged engine, I don't think they do anywhere else. I don't know. We'll get.
Well, I guess.
Ask them.
Well, so here's the thing, though. A supercharged engine didn't cause a failure.
I'm not saying right or wrong. I'm just saying there's no one else that allows a supercharged engine to run these things with a clutch.
I guess maybe Chat GPT is wrong, but Chat is trying to say that even in NHRA you can run one. Is that true or no?
You can, but not with a flywheel clutch.
Oh, okay.
Like from what I understand, but we can bring that topic back up another day, or ask, or bring the guy on, or however.
But anyways, like I was getting to, like I don't know. I don't build houses, so I wouldn't know how to answer questions about building a house. So I don't know how to set up a wall. I do, but I'm just saying, like, that'd be a good question for a guy that actually manufactures them.
Okay.
Probably answer all those questions. But as far as that goes, just all the typical maintenance that everybody does is what I've been doing until the last minute. Of obviously,
Adam, is it true you'll have a fourth Mini there?
Oh, I'm gonna test it. It's actually Chase's old tractor.
Okay.
So, I had to bleed the brakes on that, Chase. You got one of them brakes wasn't working very well. It didn't look like.
That's why I didn't win.
Yes, that's right.
It was probably it was the right one, wasn't it?
Actually, the left brake had a bunch of air in it. But yeah, I just got the last couple pieces to finish that up today. So we're going to start up every one of them here in just a little while and start figuring out how I'm going to get them in the trailer, along with all this other stuff I got to take to Nashville. I got to take parts and stuff to people, and I got kids now, so I got to throw all that crap in there. So it should be a good weekend, though.
The night before you load up is when you start all three after having the motors all apart.
No, that's just it. It's the night we load up. So we're going to load up tonight.
So
Toby wants to leave tomorrow afternoon.
After you start them for the first time after having them apart, like, do you go through and rerun the valves, or is that just something you're going to do at Nashville, or?
No.
No?
No.
Set it
I
and
have to
rip
say
it.
Yeah, basically. I mean,
impressive.
I don't know. Usually, before we got the steel rockers on these engines, like when you put the aluminum ones, I would just put it together on the stand in there, put all the push rods in it, drop it in the tractor, start it up, and everything looks good. I'd run it. And then the first run, the rocker arms would loosen up just a little bit, a couple thousandths per, tighten them down. You maybe do that over 2 runs, and then after that, you really don't touch them. Ever since we went to the steel ones, we put them on, and you don't even touch them at all. Just It'll probably end up biting me in the ass. I'm sure I'll burn push rods or something on all 3 of them. Yeah, like now that I'm in a hurry, but all these should be good. The new one, we designed a steel rocker arm last year, and then we had Manton make some rocker arms for us, and we finally got the forgings, before they were billets, and these are forgings. The very first set of the forging ones are on the new motor, so that's kind of they're supposed to be stronger, but just a couple tweaks there. It's a different deck height engine, and the push rods are different length, and everything's new. So that'll be the one that makes me more nervous than any of the other ones. So
would you be happiest to see the blue one do the best?
I just want to see them go down the track. I really do not. I mean, I want to win. Don't get me wrong. But
well, of course.
I want to make sure that they just go down the track and no fuel lines blow off or some foolish. Last year I went to that pole and I broke an input shaft in the transmission. Never really did figure out what happened there, but that's not exactly how you want to start the season out. Just want to go down there and make pretty good runs. I think, Tyler, that track can be really damn good,
it can be killer.
Last year, I think I was that fall hook, that was maybe when I say most dangerous, as in very good, like one of the most dangerous, very good tracks I've been on in a long time.
I remember, Adam, when I
went to that pool last year, and I left with a wax leg. It was my worst year of me rock pulling ever. So
no, yeah, the Pullers champion. I'm just saying that track in particular last year in the fall, both nights that track was, Play-Doh, and mini rods on Play-Doh is dangerous, and it was
but good dangerous.
Oh yeah, like primo conditions for a mini rod. It definitely, I'm not going to say I don't get nervous, because the older I get more nervous, I guess. But I was nervous, because you don't know what that tractor's going to do, because it's going to hook. You didn't know where it was going to go when it did hook.
I believe the second day that we were there last year, it was a biting track too, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, one of the nights, the first night was hard and dry, but I think since then they used to use a rototiller on it, and I think they figured out after that they don't need to use a rototiller on it anymore. It breaks the dirt up too fine, it packs in too hard, and takes the moisture out of the dirt. So I think they've kind of changed the way they make the track. I would say, it was a little bit too wet last fall, but I would take it like that over being dry any day of the week.
Oh, for sure. No question.
Because it was sticky. I'll tell you what, the track was so good. Like, how we belt sand the tires? It took the belt sanding off the tires. Like, my tires are slick after I ran there last year.
Where are you seeing that?
I've never seen that. Didn't hurt the tires at all, but it took the belt sanding like a good, I guess a good dirt track will slicken up a tire. It took it off there. It was impressive.
Well, so, Adam, before you leave, what do you think you got? 10 minutes, 15 minutes?
Yeah, I could probably do that. Yeah.
Okay. So we got Bruce's tractor done, as you guys saw, and his chassis is lighter than mine. However, he does sit further back. So with Bruce's tractor weighted down to weigh the same thing mine did at 2060, which on our certified 4-corner digital scales, with me in the seat, with no weights, it weighs 2060. So, if the scales are right, I should have no movable weight. But it's the same chassis I've had for years, and I get to carry 30 pounds. But that's another topic of discussion. So what do you guys think Bruce's tractor weighs on the front axle compared to mine, knowing it's lighter, but he sits further back? How far apart do you think those two weights are? So
identical.
Here we are.
Is his roll cage about the same as where Adam's and mine are?
Yeah. So Bruce, I liked the term somebody used. He went to a store-bought chassis. So he got a modern chassis instead of our cobbled up farm crap. Yeah. So I was also going to say we're pretty hard on motors at the Pullers Championship. So we are bringing a spare engine with us to the Pullers Championship. You got to have it. Very important hook. But so anyway, Adam, you're guessing about the same, are you?
About the same or less front end weight.
Chase, what do you think? How close are they?
I'll say Bruce is 10 pounds lighter.
His is 2 pounds lighter than mine.
2, not 10. Yeah.
So after all that, like lighter chassis, lighter rear end, but the seats moved further backwards, they are within 2 pounds of each other on
Remarkable.
the front axle.
Hey, Tyler,
Which that kind of blew my mind.
I put a lighter engine in the front, which, okay, if you're doing the math, right, like it's up front, like everybody's like, oh, the weight's up front, right? So you got it up there. Well, I'm thinking, well, if the entire engine's lighter and I can take it and put it further forward, should be more weight on the front end, right?
Yeah, it's got to be.
It weighed exactly the same.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, exactly the same. So I don't know. Maybe I put on a couple pounds here, and maybe. Now I will say this: I do have a brand new set of tires on it. So
No, see,
and so does Bruce.
well, now hang on. In Bruce and I's test, we did a direct comparison of like tire for tire, individually weighed the tires, made sure they were both full of fuel and all that. So they're about right there, which to me is just kind of crazy, really, that you can do all this stuff different and they're still within like 2 pounds of each other.
So just think if your new chassis, you get everything the same and you straddle it like a bull.
Well, that's what I'm thinking I got to do. You know, I got to stay stubborn to my roots that we can't get a store-bought chassis, but I wonder if Modern would sell just a rear axle and I could see if I could move my seat even further forward than what it is right now so that I can have that Tanner Nelson front end weight and see if I can run with them.
Right.
Something to monitor for you fans.
Yes. Another interesting observation was, as you saw in that picture, we did when we got it all done, we super teched it. We measured axle center line, we measured the hitch, we measured overall length. And I mean, props to the guys at Modern because that hitch was not off by 50 thousandths. I mean, it was boom, right at that 6-inch mark from that hook point, you know, with the tractor sitting at the level it would be at with the tires. So right at the 8-foot mark, right at the 6-inch mark. And we did end up getting wheels that were the offset brought the tires in an inch more on each side. And the topic of discussion got brought up last time, what the legal width was for PPL. And the width limit is 6 foot. So if you add 2 inches to that, I feel like there's got to be some tractors out there that are about an inch over width. Confirmed. Which I feel like is interesting.
Sounds like a tech topic.
But NTPA is 6'4".
6'4".
That's what somebody told me. So I guess I don't have the NTPA rule book. Mr. Richwine was kind enough after our show 2 weeks ago. He sent me an entire digital copy of the rule book. So I have it in PDF form. I can run searches on it mid-show if need be. But
Tyler,
somebody told me
wasn't that rule originally the footprint was 6 feet? Had to be within. Remember that? They had like a footprint. So if you were going to roll the tractor at air pressure across the ground, whatever footprint left, if it was less than 6 feet, that's what it used to be. Then it went to an overall width.
Okay, then it went to, because I got to get my hands on an NTPA rulebook, an up-to-date one, because I can read from page 45 of the PPL rulebook under the section for mini rods, number 5, no portion of the tractor shall exceed 8 feet forward of the center line of the rear axle. Width shall not exceed 6 feet in width. So I feel like that's pretty clear as far as what that rule is saying. Right. So kind of
I don't know. I don't know tractors. I don't know. Get a tractor builder on there.
Oh, I see what you did there, Chase.
I think if you really come
to laugh at that shit.
Yeah.
Oh, what was that?
I think we had a typo on a topic we're getting to. No, I don't. I don't know if there's a digital copy of NTPAs. I'm sure if we.
I got mine. I just got it the other day.
Okay.
I'm sure if we reached out to them, they'd probably send you one. That way
there's a lot of little next to, like, when you're looking through the index, there's next to each section page number, there's a lot of new 26 tags in there, a bunch of them. So
another follow-up. Oh, sorry, Adam.
No, you're right. Go ahead.
I was just going to say the other follow-up I had from last show was the SFI spec. Somebody asked about MIG or TIG welding, and the spec that we currently have and own, which I don't know if it's the most up-to-date one, but it's the SFI spec 47.3. It does actually say all welded joints indicated by this spec of 4130 or a combination of mild steel must be welded by a TIG, tungsten inert gas process, and must employ a steel filler rod or filler metal, which is compatible with the base metal. Mild steel only tubing may be MIG welded, which I
That's
found
interesting. You know why that's interesting?
Why?
Because there's a few chassis out there that they MIG them together.
Quite a few, to be honest. And I don't know if that's the most up-to-date spec, but that was a talking point last show, so I felt like I had to do my homework and follow up on that.
That's very interesting.
So if anyone has the new SFI spec for the roll cage, it'd be an interesting read for sure.
The post-show correspondence always strong, and we appreciate those who share rule books and information with all of us. I guess
here's the question. How many tech officials, when the chassis is painted, can tell the difference between a MIG weld and a TIG weld?
Oh, I feel like a lot of them can. I didn't even know that call out was in the spec, to be honest.
I didn't either. If that was the case, sounds like some guys are in deep shit.
But I don't know if there's a more recent one. This one that we got is when we built this last batch of chassis. We actually purchased the SFI spec in digital copy. So maybe there's a new spec, maybe there's not. But if there's not,
it's interesting to have a rule like that, but yet allow people to run 30-year-old chassis. You know what I mean? Like,
well, they're like enforcing that sounds like it will be an interesting way to. Like, what is the rule of the law to determine one from the other? That would be a complete.
Yeah, I mean, you can kind of tell looking at them, like if it's a MIG weld or a TIG weld.
Yeah, one looks like a nice, pretty dimes, and other ones look like caterpillars laying on there.
At the end of the day, it's very opinion based, and opinions are right 99.9% of the time, but someone's going to argue it until you have a certified person there, right?
Yeah, we're just here to stir the pot, as always.
Yeah, right. Don't disagree. I think it's cool.
Tyler, you read deeper into that rule book than I have.
Every year I try to read the whole thing. We got Jim Webb checking in here saying mini width originally was 6 feet wide. Then it went to footprint 72 inches because one competitor / builder's chassis couldn't make 72 inches. Now with the tire brouhaha, it must have changed. Now I'm just repeating what I was told at 6'4". So if that's improper, somebody call me out on that. Adam, are you going to measure yours?
Yeah, why not?
Okay, we got a live width measurement going on here with Adam's tractor. He's going to go with the red one. Can you imagine if he comes up here and he says it's 6'1"?
We need a second camera angle to make sure Adam is reading his tape.
Oh, I don't have a stop on this thing.
Yeah, this
is not a very good one.
Yeah, this is not a certified measurement by any means.
They're going to show this in NTPA tech school classes.
Yeah, no shit. We're gonna make sure it's right.
Chase, while Adam's measuring, can you give us a Sullivan pull update? How that went for you?
Pull was a fantastic environment, great weather, good turnout. As a competitor, it was a complete disaster, but that's what happens. I think it's pretty fascinating, cool that you like the two-wheel drive class gets a horrible rap, and you know, I heckle it myself on this show, but it's pretty cool that, you know, there's so much state level and regional level competition in that class. Anywhere you go, and you can win the biggest pulls in the world and go back to somewhere where guys just choose not to run the places you run and get your ass beat. So,
right on 6 feet.
Is it? Okay.
Yep, just under. I mean, it's right there though.
Okay. I
6
guess
foot.
I believe you.
Zoom in on the measurement. Really, I seen that.
Yeah. So, guys, Jim Schindorf actually texted me a moment ago, and he said that the rule book for NTPA does say 76 inches, confirming that. So, Ryan Rusnick also with a good point. What is the difference between width and footprint? Footprint is like if you roll it on the ground where the tires touch the ground?
Yes.
Okay.
I honestly don't know, Ron. It's a great question.
Yeah, I feel like overall width is the best
footprint.
way.
I mean, like, if you wear size 13 shoes, but your foot's only a size 11, you know.
Sounds like a gray area.
Maybe so, but
all that being said, good engagement, good segments. We do these shows with who knows where they're going to go, and this has turned into a rules clinic that I wasn't even aware of some of this stuff.
On behalf of the people and their fan questions, I always feel obligated to follow through as much as possible.
For sure. No, I love it. It's good. Tyler, so your vehicle's loaded and ready for the weekend. I saw.
Yes.
Maybe.
We loaded on Monday. After weeks of my father being like, I don't know if we're going to get everything done on time, we were loaded up on Monday. We had everything started this past weekend. Everything checked out good. We reran the valves because that's what we do, Adam. But, you know, our stuff doesn't.
I need to do that.
Just not as stable as yours. So,
yes,
Bruce is excited.
Need to do that.
It was a fun moment because Bruce is back in the seat and we've got the tractor in the yard and he starts pushing on the throttle and he gives it a little whack and it throws rooster tails and the tractor takes off and goes flying across the yard. And, you know, he's like, I was barely pushing on that thing, you know. I don't know why it snapped like that. It shouldn't have done that. And I'm like, Dad, we will let the race pack speak for what happened. So I got out the laptop, downloaded it, and I'm like, yes, it looks here like you went from 0 to about 12% throttle in about 0.2 seconds. That's what happened there. So the race pack will always keep you honest, but he's pretty excited to get back in the seat. A lot of people saw my Facebook post. This will be his first time back in a pulling tractor under competition since 2024 due to his snowmobile accident in early 2025. So it's going to be neat to see him. What's that?
Where does his old tractor? Is his old tractor just sitting in the corner?
His old tractor is, sitting there. It's still got the fenders on it, still got the seat belts, the steering and everything. We were joking around to our buddy Dave and my buddy Blake that was giving us a hand loading up, and they're going to be coming to the Pullers Championship. We said, if you guys really buckled down, you know, as we're loading our third spare engine into the trailer, we said we could put this thing together in probably like 24 hours, and you guys could, you know, just split driving the thing, you know, do whatever. My dad kind of turns because they're like, yeah, you know, Bruce wouldn't go for that. Bruce kind of turns and side eyes him, and he's just like, careful what you say. So it's still sitting there. It's ready. It's with something like that, you know, I've had a couple of people actually ask about buying it, but while I'm still running a rear end like what's in that tractor, I feel like we can't hardly sell it for what the rear axle components are worth as good spares for mine.
How close are the two tractors, yours and that one?
Define close.
I mean, roll cage is maybe a little bit different. Chassis obviously probably very similar.
Yeah, chassis are pretty similar. Bruce sits slightly further back than what I do. His roll cage is pretty similar. They're about as close as you can be without trying to make them identical. Like when we built the second one, we didn't necessarily roll the first one in and park it there and just measure off of it. I mean, we built it as we would normally organically build a tractor. So, you know, the hitch plates may be a little bit different, laser design, things like that. Yeah, but they're pretty doggone close. But like, I can't take my fenders from mine and put it on Bruce's. So
I gotcha.
Yeah.
So even though they look very similar, they're just enough different that they don't totally interchange.
Yes, precisely. Although we do make sure to build them so that you can pull a motor, transmission, clutch, bell housing, that whole deal with the motor plates, fuel tanks, and oil tanks, and you can interchange those from one to another. And of course, the drive shafts are interchangeable. So
Yeah, I did that one year. I thought, it'd be neat. I always thought the motor ran good in the red tractor, which is actually still the engine that's in this thing. This was years ago. It's like 2017, 2018. I'm like, I'm going to take the entire engine, transmission, bell housing, everything out, put it in the other tractor. Everything looks very similar. Put it in there, coupler wouldn't go in the rear end. So,
really,
oh man, I was so mad. I'd
so
take everything.
how we build ours is the mid plates are the same, so you position your tubing off of that when you're mocking it up, and then we have our front motor plates made with the hole in them that mounts it, and the front lasered piece of metal that the bolt goes through the front motor plate into that piece of metal. We don't have that hole pre-lasered in. So we sit there and we find the perfect happy medium where that coupler slides nice in and out of the rear axle, and it's got play up, down, left, right. And we keep jockeying the front of the motor up, down, left, right to get that lined up perfect. And then when that's clamped in, then we drill through the motor plate into the actual chassis. That way you can just get front motor plates lasered out by the half dozen and you can interchange them. And that hole is always going to be right where it needs to be.
Yeah, that was ultimately, I think, what the difference is in our two. Even though they were the same, the rear motor plate was just different enough. Or, like you said, you could have raised the engine or lowered it. And I tried switching the front motor plates, and it didn't work. And I just got frustrated and kept the rear motor plate with each chassis.
Yeah.
Actually, all our front motor plates were the same. That's what
all
was
of our
so weird.
on the chassis we made that like both had TRB rear axles, you could take the front and rear motor plates and interchange them because we wreck so much stuff because we're not any good at this that we have to get those lasered out like a dozen at a time. And we just keep like 5 of them in the trailer. So when we wreck and bend everything, we just swap them out, throw them away, slap a new one in there, and then just have at it.
Chase must have had some top secret shit because this engine in his tractor, or his old tractor, and I have the same one in this one, is a lot lower in the chassis than these other ones are.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You saw how good I ran last year, Adam. You'll be paying attention now.
God, yes. It's really low. It's really low.
It was interesting, even our crank center lines, because we just got the standard, the unit from Modern, and the center line of the crank in my tractor compared to Bruce's new chassis is like right there, maybe 100 thousandths off, if that, but they're right there.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. It's gonna be interesting.
Chase, you're not coming to TPC. Your next pull is going to be in Evansville, correct?
Yes, Busch Light Nationals in Evansville.
Are you
any updates on that?
Yeah, there's well, we had the picture up there earlier. We talked when we announced the event back in the fall. You have the Bowling Green Ring winner. The second one that comes to my mind is Hillsboro Belt Buckle. I don't know for a weekend winner if there's many events that do something like that. I'm sure I'm missing some, but when Adam, as we've talked about many times, like their family lives literally down the street from this venue. Adam and his dad and their friends and family, like there's a lot of local loyalty to that facility. I know Larry tried to bring mini rods in there for a long time. I know he pulled there a few times, but doing an event there at that facility, Adam cannot take credit for this, but the reason why this all came together is through his friends and people that I've become friends with that's saying we should do a badass pull there. And that's how it all honestly came to be. And anything short of honoring Larry Kester on that weekend in some capacity, it was just something we weren't going to do. So the weekend winner in each of the 10 classes, the 8 Grand National classes, the OVTPA Hot Farms and the 3.0 trucks. The version of the ring for the Busch Light Nationals is going to be a giant beer mug commemorating Larry Kester, the Larry Kester tribute champion. Obviously it'll be on the weekend combined points finishers as it is in Hillsboro and at Bowling Green, Ohio. So, looking forward to presenting that on Saturday to all the participants, and give Adam a hard time on the show. But his family is also very near and dear to me and mini rod pulling and all we're doing here. So, but anything short of that, honoring them there at that venue, we weren't going to do. So, the beautiful part is we're going to have a draft. Now, you get to be 21 and over. There's going to be a draft keg there nearby. So, just like the Indy 500, they drink it out the milk, right? We're going to freaking fill that thing up, and you're going to drink it in the winner's circle. So, a little different concept. Busch Light, obviously, it resonates, but really excited for this. And you'll see more about this coming up, the next 2 weeks. And beyond that, with the Busch Light Nationals, camping, we still have camping available, but over, I think 150 plus campsites for a new event. Pretty excited about that. You have time to get it. After Monday, the week of, there will be no more campsites sold. So go to bushlightnationals.com. Announced some stuff on social. We have a Nashville recording artist. His name is Justin Bryan. He's coming up and playing in the beer garden there on site. As we've talked about before, comparison to the historically there at the fair pool, the track is going back opposite direction, like I think it used to in the 90s. Adam, tell me if I'm wrong. I think it's always used to that way. And at the end of the track, there's a big barn area that will be hospitality zone, beer garden, and so forth. Busch Light is sending a huge. It's pretty wild. We're trying to get a video of it, and I'm sure they'll post it all. But it's like a semi-trailer beer garden that folds down, and it's Busch Light from their corporate in St. Louis. So looking forward to seeing all that. It's going to be a different, it's still tractor pulling, it's still having a good time, but having a brand like Busch Light in there, it'll, obviously the after party and so forth is going to be something that everybody's excited about. So,
I just got to say, I guess my phone's been ringing off the hook. People asking me questions. As much as I would want to try to take credit for putting on this event, I have nothing. I'm a competitor. I'm from the area. I'm a competitor. Ask Chase or some of the people. Ask Chase or get on the Busch Light Nationals page and ask them. I really don't have anything to do with it. I'm just going. So I appreciate the phone calls, but people are asking me for information, and I can't give you anything. So. I'm sorry, I can't help out.
You're not answering. You're ghosting them?
I'm not ghosting them. I'm just redirecting.
Speaking of ghosting, we'll get to that later. But yes, Adam is, as nor do I. There are people that answers the emails and questions. Bushlightnationals.com, message the social media page. I'm about as involved as a promoter as Adam is. I just got to answer to a few more people. So there are people that answer questions. And look, if you show up there the day of, there are going to be walk-up tickets. But just so everyone's aware that's watching, this is not going to be like the fair before where you pull in and you buy your ticket when you're pulling in. You're going to park, and it's almost like a tailgate scene between the campgrounds and the parking. And then best comparison I have is probably like how Toma does it, and we know this. The actual venue itself is fenced in and kind of confined from the rest facility. You will have to get a ticket at that point to get in to watch the pool. So just so everyone's aware, there is a capacity limit. I hope that hits the capacity limit. That sounds like a crazy statement, but we do have to be mindful because when you put a fence up, it is under different restrictions. So get your tickets in advance, show up, walk up there. We do have a couple more 1,000 bleachers coming in that they have for the fair pool. So, they'll be back towards the starting line, and there'll be a couple in the track. So, yeah, hopefully the weather cooperates, and if it doesn't cooperate, we'll make the most of it and be some fun pulling. Tyler, are you a to be determined on it?
I am a to be determined. That is primarily up to my father, Mr. Farmer Bruce. It probably depends a lot on how he does this coming weekend. If he goes out there and lays down a couple of real solid licks and he's feeling good back in the seat, he will probably decide that we're not going to be there. However, if he goes out there and struggles and, isn't feeling comfortable, I would predict that he says we're going to Evansville. So as per usual.
What would be the over-under on leaving your rig someplace that's only an hour and a half away to go home for a few days and come back? Or will
Well,
you
a few
definitely
days.
drive home?
We have a weekend in between, right?
Well, I'm just saying, like, yeah, a week in between, but like,
Yeah. Okay. I'll
so,
throw that
Yeah.
out to him and
We'll
see
get
if
you.
that
We'll get you some
persuades.
I'm
wheels.
just saying, hey, some of these guys could be complaining about this diesel fuel, so
Yeah.
save about $700.
That was actually, Adam, I'm glad you said that. We had talked about that and it didn't hit me. Since you don't have anything to do with the event, Adam, when you're talking to people at Nashville this weekend, you and Tyler, I forgot to tell them they can go park at the facility if they want to. I've totally forgot that. Just need to let us know. So as a competitor, please fire away. We'll make accommodations for that. Good call.
I was just trying to be mindful because diesel fuel is pretty high. I know a lot of people, like my dad, would never leave our stuff anywhere, and I don't know how some people are. But I can accommodate a few people that's under a watchful eye here, but I don't have a lot of room to get really. I mean, I have a pretty big rig, but if you that was interesting.
Was that me or everyone?
Everyone.
Okay.
Well, it says we're still alive. So
Okay. Just had a little technical difficulty there. So you were saying you have a big rig, but you can hardly fit in there, Adam?
Well, I mean, it's if people saw how I got in and out of my driveway, I should probably post it.
We're still live. Sorry.
I should probably post a video sometime of the intricacies of getting in and out of the driveway with a 94 or 5-foot rig. But it's I can actually toter home like a truck like your guys is like a toter home. With it's got a tag trailer on it, would be easier to get in. So, but yeah, I mean, if anybody's worried about leaving your stuff sitting in Vanderburgh County Fairgrounds, we got friends that are around here that you could park and it would be under a good watchful eye. I mean, I'm just trying to be mindful. Diesel fuel is expensive. If it saves you a little bit of money, then it saves you some money.
Okay, Bruce chimed in here via text and he said, depends on getting the fields planted so that I can afford to go. Yeah.
Can't argue that. The man's got to farm his farm.
I tell Bruce, I'm trying to save you some money on that diesel fuel now.
Yeah.
You better be going no-till,
Bruce has
not
never
working
been
that
one.
ground.
When we bring our stuff home on Sunday, it's like mandatory you unload and check it over. So I can't almost fathom Bruce just parking it and being like, well, we'll mess with it in 2 weeks or 12 days or something like that. But ultimately, he calls the shots because he's the one with the farming dollars to make this operation go down the track. Don't forget that. So, gentlemen, we are almost 50 minutes into this. Should we get to fan questions or do we have anything else to touch on? Chase, did you want to touch on more promoting topics of the pull or are we good?
Well, I think need to make point. I've had a lot of correspondence the last couple of days, or not a lot, a handful of people. The Masterson full pulling team. I went last week and spent my weekend or my last Thursday. Evansville. Whenever we announced this event for when was it? December. Evansville, Indiana is like a huge pulling area, and we were very adamant we wanted to involve the local community and local pullers there as a big part of this, as you would see with our hot farms and any other puller in the area. I think there's been some communication for someone from our team on how can we make this a great pull. And the Masterson pulling team is one of the biggest names in all pulling. We spoke to them back in December. I don't really know Kevin Masterson. I know him and we speak, but we're not like friends or anything. But you respectfully, you bring someone like that around when you're doing something like this and want to get their input. And I got to have a little fun with this because it is kind of funny. Some people didn't take it funny, but I think it's hilarious because it's just kind of how my life is. So RJ Simon is a friend of ours, and RJ has always done a very good job of connecting with pullers and getting them to come to his event. And I was talking to him a few weeks back about, coming to Busch Light Nationals and participating like he always did to me and us for his event, right? And we've always gone to his event as a supporters event. And I brought the topic up to him, like, what about Kevin Masterson? I don't really know this guy. Like, any recommendations? And he, as a friend would do, he recommended that I reach out to him, call him, stop by and see him. Just tell me you want him to come to this pool. The Masterson team, it's Evansville is a hometown pool to them, I guess you would call it that. So
Grandview.
But like it's hometown as much as hometown you can get, right? So I called him not long after RJ told me that and just said, hey, Kevin, look, I had this pool going on. Would love for you to be here. Love to just, if you're on the fence, talk to you about it, blah, blah, blah. He was very nice and kind on the phone. He's like, I'll think about it. I heckled him a bit and said, you can't blame it on farming because we have really good farming conditions here where him and I are from, and like farming's done, right? I'm like, so if you're not going to come, you have to give me another reason in a playful, joyful way. So, but this is the part where I think it's hilarious. I was in Evansville last Thursday with a couple of our guys putting some signs up, and it's been very positive feedback from everybody in the area to come participate in the pool. Kevin, I wasn't there with him on that. So like you do, or like I've done, if you want to break bread and get to know somebody, easiest way to do it is what, Tyler? Drink some beer, grab a beer.
You bring them beer. Yeah. You bring them a beverage.
Yeah. So I did a little intel research. Again, this is me being very sophisticated and thinking I'm going to get this guy to this pool, and called some of his friends and said, hey, what does Kevin like to drink? Because between where Kevin lives, or between Evansville and where I live, Grandview's not really that far out of the way. I just never go that way. So I was told to buy some Bud Light Clamatas, like the Bloody Mary beer. And
okay,
I was told this by a couple. Jason Schultz called somebody for me too. So when we got done to Evansville, putting some signs up, I decided we're going to go through Grandview on our way home. Went by a liquor store, bought a whole case of these Clamatas, which if y'all don't know, they only sell them in 4-packs because they cost so damn much. So I bought this guy $100 worth of Clamatas, took the beautiful route home, and I was just going to surprise him at his shop, right? Like he doesn't owe me shit, and he's never going to owe me shit. But me being the nice guy I am, I pulled in his shop. We called him, we texted him, he wasn't there. We left that right there in front of his door with some Busch Light Nationals coupons there. And said, hey, we're just passing through. Want to say hello. We'll talk to you soon, right? Just break bread. Let's drink some beers together.
Okay.
Go on back home. The funny part I learned about Grandview and where I live, he only lives about 60 miles from me the way the crow flies. Like, he's super close. It's actually, I was like, damn, I didn't know this guy lived that close to me. You just go a different way. Anyway, he didn't correspond back that evening last Thursday, and last Friday morning, nothing. And there was an announcement made on Facebook that they weren't coming, and that's how that went.
Can we see it?
Yeah, I think Backstage has it, and I think this is the video clip. Yeah, this is the repercussions of getting a guy the wrong case of beer. So I was thinking the whole time I was doing a good gesture. I think I was set up. So
hang on, we got to have sound here. We got to have sound.
Great, awesome. Had to get some supplies so I can do vaccinations and things. Hey guys, Ralphie Debor here. Guess where I'm at? I'm down here at the Vanderbilt County 4-H grounds, and I saw a sign here. Look, right there's the pool coming up the end of May. I had to come down here right over there. There is my large animal vet, Brian Helms. Great vet. Great, awesome. Had to get some supplies so I can do vaccinations and things this weekend. But I just want to let everybody know I'm sad to say that the Masterson Farms pulling team is not going to be here at the tractor pull in May. Our very first pull is going to be June 5th and 6th up in Salem, Ohio. At the raceway there, we're running the Fit Series and Championship Series Pro Pulling. So if you want to watch us, go to IHRA Pro Pulling, and it's free live streaming there. It's free. So you can go there and watch us free. So anyway, guys, sorry. We will be here at the county fair in late July, but we are not going to be here at the Vanderbilt County Fair May 28th at the tractor pull here. Sorry, hate to say that, but you can see us live stream on IHRA this summer on the Fit Series Pro Pulling Series. Thank you. Have a great day.
Well, Chase, clearly that guy didn't like Clamatos. He wanted some Busch Lights, obviously.
The moral of the story is just do your homework on what a guy likes to drink, because I did something totally wrong. I mean, I sent the flowers and roses to the PPL office to get in the high stakes series, and that backfired on me. I sent this guy some Bud Light Clamatos, and then backfired. So one of these days it'll work out. No, and look, as I said, those guys owe me nothing or owe us nothing. Whenever if this poll, if the Busch Light Nationals was in the state of Tennessee, we would never even connected with them. But it's in Evansville, Indiana. They're a big name. When this poll comes back next year, the first weekend of June, we're going to do the same thing and ask them to come. And if they don't come, like, what do you like? You don't not reach out to the guy, right?
Maybe try Busch Light next year, Chase.
Yeah. Anybody that knows Kevin Masterson, tell me the drink I should get him next time. We'll try next year. But yeah, like I don't. It's not worth. I don't think anything's worth like beating a dead horse over. But I told people that we will comment on this show, and that's where it is. So I got mad respect for those guys, and I hope everything goes well for them. And if they want to come to the Busch Light Nationals, we will give them a VIP couch and all the beer they can drink just to be there and watch. I'm just not going to give them Bud Light Clamatos.
Well, and we have to touch on the special we mentioned last show, where if Chase wins either Friday night or Saturday night, there's going to be what? Was it 30 minutes or an hour of free beer or something like that, Chase?
Yeah, if we went with the mini rod,
yeah,
we'll pay for everybody's entry the next day. How about that?
Whoa.
Yeah, we'll reimburse the entries. There you go.
Okay. Okay. Well, no, we want something for the fans to be rooting for you. I feel like it has to be beer garden related.
Free Busch Light. Next Wednesday, we'll make that determination. We'll make that determination 2 Wednesdays from now.
Okay.
I'm going to try to talk Adam into coming to the beer garden and do the podcast. Tyler, if you're not there, we'll find some mannequin to throw on the stage for you.
Okay. I understand. All right. Well, guys, we are almost an hour in of just pure blathering between the three of us. I feel like we got to peel through some fan questions before we bring our guest on. Adam, do you have time for fan questions?
I'll do the fan questions. They haven't showed up yet. I'll do fan questions, then I'm probably outie.
Okay, I understand. Let's get right into it, guys. These are fan questions that are sent in throughout the week in between shows. As always, you can call or text 270-681-0509. Gentlemen, would you rather drive a Grand National Mini Rod or a 2 Hemi Light Modified? Chase, you've driven them both. Why don't you go first?
Yeah, nothing's like a mini rod. Mini rod is my favorite to drive if I had to drive one. So,
okay, simple enough. Adam, what do you think?
Never driven a 2-engine mod, so I don't know. So I guess I would like to try it one time, but I'd probably stick with the mini rod.
Adam, does that mean if somebody's at a pull that has a competitive 2-engine light mod and they said, Adam, let's switch seats for the night, would you take them up on that?
I would try that out, yeah, I guess.
So at the Pullers Championship this coming weekend, if somebody with a light mod approaches Adam Kester and says, Adam, let's switch roles, I get to pick a mini and drive it, you get to drive my mod, you're accepting that?
They have to make weight.
Okay, but if they make weight.
Maybe.
Maybe now. Maybe, he says. He's starting to rethink that. I mean,
the thing is,
I wanted to see Todd Feiss in a mini rod.
I would have to put the stipulations. It would have to be a customer of mine.
Oh, okay. Okay. Like maybe Vern Huser?
Yeah, but he's not going to be there, so.
I don't think Russell Phipps can make weight. I love you, Russ. But
his son can.
Good. Yeah, there you go.
Okay, well, maybe we can work something out there. I guess, even though Bruce is watching, so I hate to say this, I guess because I've gone down the track so many times in a mini rod, if I was offered the chance, and of course Bruce okayed it, I would have to take the opportunity to drive a light mod. But when it comes to owning, operating, and maintaining, I will take a mini rod over a light mod. I must clarify that point. All right, next question here. Really enjoyed hearing about the history of TNT. Glad you guys had Rich Schaefer on. I'd like to see some old photographs of the tractors and trucks back then. Would a short segment of pulling history be of interest to viewers? Maybe some people could send in pictures of their first competition wins each segment, like viewer mail. Do competitor photos. Great job, guys. Always enjoy watching. Yeah, it would be interesting to see more of that. It's fun, like when Rich was on, going through the old photos, seeing the old sleds and things like that. I like the thought of that. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think it'd be pretty cool. Maybe you could split. I mean, obviously, from a encyclopedia version of history, I'd say that Dan Mayer probably knows more about the history than a lot of people do. But it'd be neat. Yeah, I think it'd be neat to kind of hit on that. I mean, it all started somewhere, and I'm sure we've forgotten about some of the greats back in the day. It'd be good to reconnect.
Yeah, I think we maybe moving forward after the summer, we can look into some blast from the past segments on this podcast. I don't think any of us, we don't always agree on everything, but I think we would all agree on that.
Yeah, for sure. It is always cool to see those pictures. So great question, great point. We're going to have to make work of that. Next question. Is there a difference in how PPL and NTPA tracks are prepared? It seems like maybe some of the PPL tracks may be looser, with the exception of Henry and a few others. On the live streams, it always seems like NTPA always had good power tracks. Just curious from a fan's point of view. Adam, what do you think on that?
I think it's more of like a promoter-based issue. And I think it's something that's kind of been worked on in the last couple of years, of like a group of people preparing all the tracks, for the history of pulling. I'd say you go to these events and people from the area have their own track crew, do all kinds of stuff. And, it's the age-old saying, nobody knows this dirt like we do. Okay, well, not everybody can build a track, I guess, is what I'm getting at. But I don't think, maybe I've seen sometimes where they will try to dry the track out, and there's good reason for it. When you have a good wet track and it's soft, it tends to take a little bit longer for the show to go through, because maybe a big mod can't spin, when it spins out, it can't back up, they can't unhook the sled, where the track may be a really good track, but it's not good for the timing of the pull. So I think sometimes that plays a factor in how tracks are prepared. I think a drier track tends to be a little bit faster for running vehicles through than a really wet track does. But I would not go out and say that people are deliberately trying to make tracks bad or, overly dry for because it looks good on TV. I think that's a pretty irresponsible thing to do, considering the amount of money invested in the tractors. But, yes, there are differences everywhere you go. I think the more professional the sport becomes, maybe there's a group of people that travel around to all the different tracks and maybe prepare them the same to try to get that good consistency from track to track. What do you guys think?
I wouldn't label this on an organization basis, PPL versus NTPA or even versus Outlaw. I would say just more of the structure of the event. It just, tell me if I'm wrong, but like PPL is aligned with a lot of county fair events. I know Hillsboro's not, and that's a really good track typically. The NTPA national events, Majority of them are standalone. There are some that are involved with fairs, but I think it's more when anytime someone is putting on a pulling event in the middle of a fair package, like you don't have a whole week or multiple days to prep the track properly. And
Days.
I would think that it's more of a promoter or the infrastructure. If it's a standalone event, there's no reason why it shouldn't be a pretty good track. And there's no absolutes in track building, but NTPA has a lot of standalone events. Outlaw's best track I think they have all year is Rock Valley, Iowa. It's a standalone event, similar type scenario. So I think it's more about what type of event it is more so than organization.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Anytime you have the dirt that you can just sculpt and play with specifically to cultivate that dirt for a pulling track days and days in advance. Like I guarantee if you go to Nashville right now, that dirt is already worked up and set in as a pulling track. They're getting ready. And that's always going to be an advantage every time. And I would say specifically like the afternoon hooks, they always get a bad, reputation, whether that be Goshen or the, what was the infamous Grant Theobald video from out in where
Rockwell.
was that? Rockwell, Iowa. Like
Yeah.
I don't think either one of those places, should catch any shade because an afternoon hook is just a pain in the ass if you're fighting the sun.
Well,
it's trying to dry it out. It's hard to keep enough water in that. I would not want to be a track builder. Well, I wouldn't want to be a track builder at all. I don't know what I'm doing, but I certainly wouldn't want to be one for an afternoon hook. But I would say the biggest thing is when you get your repetitive events that just have a lineage of year after year after year after year, much like we as pullers going to events, you learn what you need to do different with certain dirt. I feel like the track builders are the same way. Once you have an established event, whether that be like Chase said, Toma or Hillsboro, when you have a repetition, you understand what you're working with, your process, what you need to do. I feel like that's what builds a good track for sure. But
yeah.
I feel like as everybody keeps every year trying to make more horsepower, pushing that edge, I feel like we've become more fragile as far as our window of forgiveness on what we can work with on a track. At least I know for me, you keep trying to run stuff right at the frickin' ragged edge of wrecking or winning. And then it's really easy for me to be like, well, this track sucked. That's why I didn't do any good.
Yeah, I think we've all seen like even some of the best tracks on their worst days have been some of the worst tracks we've pulled on. I mean, there's really no, this track's better than that track all the time because each one's had their ups and downs. I do believe.
Bowling Green, even during the day, I think when we pull Friday at noon, more times than not, it gets dry and dusty out there, and that's good dirt. I mean, just kind of the conditions, right?
Yeah. Afternoon hooks are tough. So yeah, that's a good point though. Good question. All right. What else we got here? Tyler, what do you have against your father having an unlimited mod? Oh no, this was probably Bruce that typed this in.
Can we see what these numbers are?
Yeah. Bruce probably pulled out the old hunt and pack on his keyboard and threw out an email here. All right, Tyler, what do you have against your father having an unlimited mod? Jason Schultz bought a diesel super just for his dad to drive and live out his dreams. Can't you be more like Jason? I say we start a movement for Bruce to have an unlimited mod in 2027. Hashtag 5-engine Bruce 2027. Oh.
I'm just going to go off the cuff here, and there's numerous mentions of Jason Schultz and being like Jason Schultz, and we all know Schultz. Not many people are going to mention his name that many times. I think Jason Schultz.
Oh, you know what? I think
Who would want to compare themselves to Jason Schultz other than Jason Schultz himself?
All right,
yeah.
So we have this.
That's a good one,
question.
Jason. That's a good one.
Yeah, clearly written by Jason Schultz. So
nobody's putting that guy on a pedestal.
Yeah, I guess if we want to, if we want to draw a comparison here, like we will see if Jason continues to do that and for how many years, because I feel like you're going to get burnt out. And Bruce and I have to work so much And I just feel I don't have the time to deserve sitting behind the wheel in an unlimited mod. And Bruce has told me if we get one, he says, you can drive. Like you can be the one sitting behind the, sitting in the seat. But I feel like there's times I borderline have enough free time to dedicate to tractor pulling to where I'm almost to where I'm like letting Bruce down and not quite meeting his expectations. So my fear is if we got a 4 or a 5 engine tractor, what I would be willing to dedicate to the sport would fall well below the required expectations, and we wouldn't be able to run it to its fullest capability, because I remember how much work that thing was. And man, hats off to anyone campaigning an unlimited mod. You got to work your ass off on those things, like big time.
Sure.
And they are a lot of work. And anybody that says that's not true is just lying to your face.
Right.
I would argue, though, Tyler, honestly, not that we're experts in anything we do, but running 2 mini rods hard, man, I don't know. I would argue that one unlimited versus 2 mini rods, like running hard, ain't a lot of difference. I'm being dead ass to that.
Really?
Just because from the tire standpoint and like the unlimited engine, I don't feel like we have to run it as hard as we do our other ones, or we don't.
Yeah, but we would.
But
yeah,
you don't have to.
But we would.
It's just a different. It's so much different.
So Chase, are you saying that me running 3 mini rods is harder than 1 unlimited?
100%. I've said that to my dad and CJ before. I said Adam Kessler works harder running 3 mini rods he does one. You would 1 unlimited. I've said that on record.
No, that I can see being the tipping point. But I think 2 mini rods is not quite as hard, because one thing I know too is like when Bruce ran his unlimited, he wasn't quite in the position he is now. Now he can afford to like run the crap out of that thing if he so chooses. Where back in the day, it was like if he blows up 2 motors, he's probably going to park it for the year. And that thing was still a shit ton of work. But right now, I think we've got like 5 engines sitting over there.
I would argue. Now, all of us run very good engines and equipment. Like we're blessed to be able to do that collectively. But I would argue that one mini rod is more work than 1 light modified. I would really argue that.
Oh man, that seems crazy. All right, after this season, we will let Jeff Hurt chime in on what was more work, the 2 mini rods or the 4 engine mod. And
I think running 1 mini rod really hard is more work than running 1 light mod.
Yes, but 2 minis compared to an unlimited is the real question here.
Yeah. I think it's a fair ask. Yeah, Jeff Hurt, to your point.
All right, Jeff Hurt is going to have to chime in, but to answer the fans' question, I'm against it because I don't want to let Bruce down. Is that a good answer?
And funny enough, I have to take a step back. Jason Schultz did not submit that question, so
we don't know this. So we need to run like a fact check on all these.
Well, I got fact checked.
All right.
Oh, you know who wrote it?
No, I'm just saying funny. It's just said funny enough. Jason Schultz did not.
It must have been his wife.
Okay. All right, that's a good question. Putting the pressure on me. Not sure I like that, but fair question nonetheless. Let's see what else we've got. With the pulling season ready to start, how much work needs to be done on your haulers, and do you do the work yourselves? Chase?
That is a great question. I would say from a transporting standpoint, the steer tires, we always swap those out every 2 years, and I think this is the year to swap them out, if I'm not mistaken. That's how much work I do on them. The tires are a big deal. We all know that. You don't want to get in some bad scenario with tires. And then from my standpoint, the just trying to organize your trailer or our trailer to have parts and what we need when we go to events. There's some work and due diligence in that, because by the time we get to July, it's no one's going to go there to organize it. You're just throwing shit in there and trying to make it to the next week. So just trying to keep it as clean and organized structurally as you can, but we don't do a good job of it. And no, I'm the Memorial Day weekend. I'll try to get in there and do some of it, but no, I probably won't do a lot of it myself.
Yeah, we see Jordan checking in here saying, Tyler, come on, Chase is just a driver. Donald is the mechanic.
He works on all the tires. Yeah.
That's right. Adam, how about yourself?
Toby spent the last 3 Thursdays from 9 o'clock to 4 or 5ish. He serviced the entire motorhome, got the tires all aired up. Us too. We like to. Our steer tires were brand new last year. The drive tires and trailer tires were new. Some were new last year. We try to stay on top of that. We had to put a turbo on the truck this year because it was squalling pretty bad last year. My Uncle John and Uncle Robert came up and helped with that. I didn't have a lot to do with that, but Toby has spent the last 3 Thursdays changing oil in the motorhome, greasing, getting the tires aired up, got the trailer out, making sure all the brakes work, everything, all the hubs are filled, servicing generators on toter home and the trailer, just going through every little bit. I mean, I try to do as much as I can. We've been doing this long enough now, like, there's nothing that has to be said between the two of us. Like, he knows what to do, I know what to do, and we kind of work really well. We have to run a few things across each other, but like, and then when we do take the motor home, that's a whole nother thing that needs fuel filters. And like I said, like on the engine, fuel filters, motorhome fuel filters, oil filters, rounding up all. I try to get all the parts and stuff. I may or may not do the work, but it's a lot to get, a motorhome, a toter home, and a trailer down the road. It kind of blows my mind to look at some of these teams that, like, I know Simon's on a trucking company, but man, they're taking like 5 rigs. Some of these guys taking 2 or 3 rigs to places. There's a lot of work involved getting up and down the road. So I do some of the work myself, not all of it. If I just don't have time, I guess I would have to send it somewhere to get it worked on. But we try to do as much as we can here.
Yeah,
Tyler.
I would say that Farmer Bruce carries the majority of that load. The other day we had the hood popped on our Freightliner Cascadia, and Bruce is like, we got to change the oil on it before we hit the road. And last time we just brought it somewhere to have it done, and that damn thing has a plastic oil pan on it, and they stripped the nut out on the oil pan. So Bruce is like, F that, I'm changing the oil myself this time. So him and I think it was Monday night, we got the hood open. We're crawling all over this engine underneath and all that, and we can't find the damn oil filter on this thing. We're looking all over. I'm calling my one trucker buddy Punches up, trying to get info from him. It doesn't have a spin-on oil filter. I think we found what is a cartridge-style oil filter that's kind of next to the fuel filter. But prime example, me saying Bruce carries most of this burden. It was like, I don't know, 11:15 on Monday when I was like, well, let me know what you find out. If I can find something on YouTube, I'll send you the link. And I haven't heard on the topic since. So prime example, Bruce probably just handled that. Whether or not he took the filter off and found it or said F it and brought it somewhere, I don't know. But yeah, it's definitely work. Even just organizing the trailer, because when you're working on stuff during the winter, you're pulling stuff out of cabinets and you're like, I'm not going to take care of that now. That's future me's problem. Well, that was Monday. Me, Bruce, my buddy Blake and Dave, we're up in the mezzanine in the trailer organizing. We realized we had steering components all over because we got all sorts of spare stuff. So Bruce finally got a nice pack out system from Milwaukee so that we can categorize. And Dave's got the label maker going, putting labels on stuff in the pack out case and just getting everything set and tidy so that in the heat of the moment, if you're in between runs, you can actually find that Heim joint or that steering knuckle that you actually need that's squirreled away with all the other. I mean, we got spare fuel tanks, oil tanks, bell housing, transmission, drive shaft shielding, side shields. We have everything to put another tractor together and then some, I feel like. So, especially with that chassis sitting there now. So,
really good question.
It's a lot of work. That is a good question. It's one of the unforeseen labors of love involved with the sport. So, all right, next question. Tell Chase I can help at Evansville if he want me to. All right. Well, Chase, if you're looking for
Must be
volunteers,
Kevin Masterson.
yeah, probably. He's just reaching out. He's gonna have a Clamato in hand, but he's willing to lend a hand. So Chase, if you need help, I don't know if you can get a hold of that guy or not. But as always, if you text us, we're throwing the questions up. So all right, next question. Tried for the first time ever in Earlville, Iowa. You should share this on your next episode. My name is Kyle Preer, and I'm from Dubuque, Iowa. So tried for first time ever. All right, I think we have a video to go with this. Oh, I saw this on Facebook. So this is 2 semi-trucks hooked in tandem to one pulling sled.
Oh, wow.
So they're both going to pull at the same time. And if memory serves me right, one of them gets the jump here and takes off a little early. So I think they're chained together, and the chain just goes through the hook in the pulling sled. But you got to be even. But what happens is they're both trying to steer away from each other so they don't hit each other. And I feel like both of them end up going at like a 45-degree angle, and they start pulling away from each other. So
This is a real pull-off right here.
yeah, I've never seen that done. So it's an interesting concept. Props to you guys for giving that a go.
What is the item they're pulling across their both hitches there? What is that?
That is called a chain, Chase.
That's not a chain.
So it's like a bunch of small loops of metal that are intertwined. So it almost makes a rope, but it's really rigid because it's made of metal.
That is not a chain. That thing right there.
Yeah, they've clearly got some sort of load distribution bar that both trucks are hooked to, and then
So
the
who won this?
aforementioned
Like, how do you
chain
win?
there.
How do you win?
Well, I don't think you win. I think it's just something they did for sport, just for the heck of it,
They did it for the podcast. I love it.
They did it for the podcast,
Podcast
and they sent it in. So props to them. Good trying it. I feel like you guys need to try it again and just quit steering away from each other. You can't be afraid to smash into each other a little bit when you're doing the tandem sled pull there. So
speaking of semi repairs, we can incorporate these guys into our next show.
yeah, Kevin Hill chiming in there. That's a tandem bar, Chase.
Oh, that's not a chain. That's not a chain, assholes.
Yeah, well, there's a chain that goes behind the tandem bar, Chase. Sorry, I thought you were unfamiliar with a chain, so I figured I'd educate you there. But as always, good content from our fans. I think we've got a couple more questions, perhaps, from here. What's the puller's all-time favorite track to pull at? I feel like we've touched on this. Adam, want to go? What's your favorite track?
I don't know. I guess I'll say Chapel Hill, Tennessee.
It's a good one. Chase?
Favorite dirt, if it's built right, Washington, Ohio. Favorite pull or weekend experience, I got a tie. Chapel Hill and Fort Recovery. I love both those events.
I'm going to have to – I'll go Hillsboro just because it's awesome that you get to stage on blacktop until you're fired up driving onto the pulling track. I don't know too many places to offer that experience. Plus, the dirt there is always pretty kick-ass for sure. Even though we pull quite often in the afternoon, they kind of put that one together. I'll give them that.
Yeah, I about committed suicide there one year hooking to a sled.
Yeah, because that track was so damn good. Adam just about wrecked the crap up. But Adam, boy, did that thing hole shot like a mother.
It did.
That thing was.
It was gone.
If you could have settled it down, that thing would have gone 400 foot. That was
It was moving.
Dirt.
It was moving.
Thanks. Good question as always. What else we got here? Geez, an hour and 24 into the show. We gotta keep it rolling here. Based on who you know in the pulling community, who would have the best TV ratings if they had a reality show about their life and why? Thank you kindly, as always, Mr. Luke C. Adam, what do you think?
Well, if we get any more footage, we might already have them. I'd say the Richardson bunch would be a good one.
Yeah, for sure. Chase, your comments?
I would say best TV ratings. Billy Beers. I think Billy Beers would have a hell of a show if he had one.
Okay, yeah, I can see that. Man, Adam kind of took my answer. It's hard to argue with the Richardsons.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of another standout. I mean, there's your obvious answers, like, the Hurt family would would for sure be a good one there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's all organic too.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I think I'm just gonna have to go Richardson's on that. It's hard to go wrong with that. You've got so many polarizing characters. I mean, you start with Donald right there. After his shirtless endeavor at the banquet, I mean, how do you top a character like that? That's activities the likes even Billy Beers wouldn't partake in. I mean,
I'd agree. I'd have to say over the years, I've been introduced to more characters. Maybe some have stayed around, maybe some have been short-lived, but they've always tend to bring some very interesting.
How about Snake? That's a story. There's a lineage of Hall of Famers.
The other thing is I think everybody outside of a couple, most of the people have nicknames. I mean, Super Dave, right? Remember Super Dave? Chase tried to kill him, I think, or somebody did at one of the pulls. Threw him off the back of the Jeep.
Yeah.
You know what?
But
I'm going to have to say Adam Bauer. I think that would be an interesting watch.
Yeah, that would be a good one too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See him navigate and all day, every day. Yep.
That would be a good one for sure. All right, Luke, thanks for that one. Do we have another one? Another question backstage here. Should the NTPA move the Hall of Fame presentation back to the banquet rather than having it as a standalone presentation? Adam, what do you think?
Yes.
Yes. Very quick, clean, concise yes. Okay, Chase, your thoughts?
I mean, for years we complained about how long the banquet was. You don't want to cut a Hall of Fame induction ceremony short for a banquet agenda. So I say I see the yes part, but those banquets are long, and I think maybe doing their own ceremony is.
Oh,
bang,
guys! Did you see this? Previous No Practice podcast guest checking in here. Mr. Rich Schaefer says yes, all caps, and it will.
I think doing it like at lunchtime or like doing its own ceremony while everyone's there, aside from the banquet, would make sense.
While I get what you're saying.
While we're speaking of this, I guess if I had one comment, I know this is a very odd topic to bring up now, but I've always found it quite odd that we have a Grand National champion and then we turn around and do mini puller of the year, and it tends to be the same person, right?
Yeah, that is weird.
You waste a good 25 minutes just saying, and your pull of the year is the same guy who was just here a second ago.
And I mean, one time it was, and I think I kind of chuckled at it this past year when we were at the banquet. I was like, 2016 I won the points, and I thought I was getting mini pull of the year, and it was Ken Vinny. I was like, son of a bitch, But like, you know what I'm saying? Like, if you go through and you cut some small things like that out, I absolutely would want it back at the banquet. Only because, like, for a lot of those people, like, I'm sorry, there's a very small chance that I'm probably going to go to Ohio to go to the banquet, or to the Hall of Fame induction. And that's no offense, but the time of the year and all those things. But like the banquet. It's just at the end of the year. It's giving us some time. You want to kind of see some people again and stuff. I have to say, I really did like the Florida thing, and that was pretty neat. It seemed like it was a little bit faster. Maybe there was some situations there that could have been cleaned up a little bit, like maybe keeping a bar in the corner for the pullers the whole time. But yeah, I think it sped it up a little bit. You know what I mean? It tended. Okay. To speed it up a little bit. If we can kind of eliminate some of the, I know it's wrong to say, but like, if you're going to have the champion and then the puller of the year right after that, and it's the same person, maybe you just don't do it. You just give them the award at the same time, or you say Grand National champion and puller of the year. At the same time, you give one speech, you don't have to wait on the people to come up or back or have a second speech ready. That would cut out a lot of time.
It seems like we need to say that either the puller of the year cannot be the Grand National champion, or we just do away with that and bring the Hall of Fame back. That way we can do a little bit better time management, because I get what you're saying. The banquets run long. They tend to. However, it sucks to think that, you got the guys that have dedicated their whole life to this sport. This is their big Hall of Fame moment that they probably dream of for decades. And to not have everyone present, I do feel like takes a little bit away from it. But as Rich said, it's coming back to the banquet. So need no more talk about that. Sounds like that's going to be shifting back. Adam, where are you at? If this is our last question, which I believe it is it loading time or?
Well, see, we got to start some stuff up. I think the guys are
yeah.
probably going to be here hopefully anytime. If not, I guess I'm going to start the stuff myself.
Okay.
I'll go get the dog and sit in the seat.
Is this goodbye then? Is this goodbye?
I guess it can be, but yeah, I'm waiting, patiently waiting. Got to get I got loaded up. I got a new engine combination. I got to put new, rods, push rods, pistons, because all the stuff's different than the other engines. I got that. I got customer stuff to put in the trailer. I have not got the tires in order. It's going to be the rest of the night. I'll be working on this. So if we're going to try to leave sometime tomorrow, I should get to work.
You can at least stay on and say hi to Travis for us.
I can say hi to Travis, but I'm going to be. I would. You know what? If I had a Jason Schultz to follow me around, I wouldn't mind to keep it on mute, and you guys can just watch me work. But I unfortunately don't have that privilege. So. I don't even have anybody here at all right now to do anything. So,
well, in that case, Adam, why don't you bring on our next guest?
All right. Everybody knows him from the Bone Stock Diesel pulling tractor from Marengo, Iowa, Mr. Travis Schlabach.
Oh, a little announcer voice there. Travis, how you doing?
You're on mute. You're on your best version of yourself. What an intro.
Are you there, buddy? Give us a test 1, 2. All right, we got the technical support coming in here, giving Travis a hand.
Tech support.
Yeah, that little microphone icon in the bottom there, Travis. Make sure that doesn't.
Travis, just say what's on your mind. Nobody can hear you.
Oh, I heard him. He said, "F you, Chase." All right.
How about
Travis is? Oh, we can hear you now, Travis.
Can you hear me now?
Out. Keep me on here a little longer. Yeah.
Just so we're all on the same page, Allison had this all set up for me. I wasn't supposed to touch nothing, but I farted my fat fingers through this and got this thing handled. That'll be the end of my computer technology.
Well, they always say with every mediocre man is a great woman. So, Allison, thanks for bringing this guy on for us. Travis, we're in your shop there. It looks like the tractor is far from ready to run. Give us the update in the bone twister as we're sitting in your shop right now. And you're froze up. There you go.
We got time. We got time. Orson Welles said there will be no wine till there's time. So there you go. That looks better, doesn't it?
Oh yeah, that looks much better.
We had to do some, so we had to do a little machining, making some products. I'm fairly stubborn, and I'm still trying to make a kind of a gearbox system that Profab Larry built me a year ago. That 2 years ago I drew on a beer box at Key West. That's where I do some of my best CAD drawings. And we're going to try to run 2 water injection pumps. We tried last year. We just had other problems and whatever. So we've been running a belt. We can't keep a belt on the front end and whatever. So we're throwing like everything at this thing but the kitchen sink. I don't know which one's right or wrong, but we're going to try it. see what we can come up with. So we've got all that. Got the last piece made just today. My good buddy Lynn Cameron across the street here, he fabricated me some metal, and we got that made. And hopefully Saturday we'll have some smoke. Get some smoke flying out.
So the water injection pump is usually driven by a belt, and now you're going to run 2 of them and be gear driven?
Well, so what I did is I built a, quote, gearbox that hangs off the front drive. The whole gearbox is belt driven. That gearbox will run 2 water injection pumps. It'll also run my oil pump that pumps the motor, oil motor. And then it'll also run my diesel fuel pump to pump my diesel fuel. What's unique about these is I can change the speeds of every individual pump individually by changing gears. Ain't like a transmission shifter, but we can change the gears in there. So if I want to run a water pump for my turbo piping slower than what I run a water pump for my turbo, not my water injection for my port manifold, I can speed up and change the volume of water I use based on how fast I spin that pump. Never been done before. Might be the dumbest idea in the world, but it's my idea, and I'm sticking with it clear to the end, clear to the scene of the crash.
Sounds like you're a very open-minded guy. Just what the NTPA board needs, even though it's your way or the highway. So this thing is gear-driven or belt-driven, Travis?
It's belt-driven. The reason I tried to feel belt-driven is I wanted to get rid of the harmonics off the front of the engine. So we just belt-driven that to isolate the harmonics. What I've run into a problem is keeping the belts on they're wanting to climb off of the pulleys and keep everything perfectly straight. So I actually, believe this or not, went to Adam Bauer's camp and studied mini rods, supercharger belts, and said, doesn't matter, they're all the same, but why does that supercharger belt not fly off the end of the pulley? And came up with the scenario that has an idler pulley in the middle of it, and said the idler pulley's job is to keep the belt centered on the pulley. I don't know how much truth that is. So we're changing some things. At the end of the last year, we actually started getting some precision measuring devices out rather than your eyeball, and tried to compare of where our crankshaft pulley was compared to our drive system pulley and at what angle. And we found that it was majorly not in line. Oh. So we've made some changes and put some more supports and beefed it up so we can actually dial that in a little closer and use straight edges and feel better than it's sitting in the driveway. Yeah, that belt looks good. So I don't know. I don't know work, but I don't know. We're going to try it.
The one thing for sure, tying all this together, the way I understand your fuel, your oil, everything together, whenever that belt breaks, you're going to wreck a lot of shit.
The goal of having that all run off of one belt is to everything stops. We quit pumping fuel. We quit pumping oil. We just quit everything. Now, that's a pretty good idea. It doesn't always work that way, but you got a piece of shit when you're done after the belt breaks. You get to go through and rebuild the entire engine, send the turbochargers off, get new bearings put in them. I mean, you just got a pile of junk. Don't forget, send the injection pump off because it got starved for oil. I mean, you just, everything junk. So, yeah, so it's really exciting. It's really it's a great class to be in, and I would recommend it to everybody.
So this sounds like quite the belt. What kind of belt is this? This clearly isn't a V belt. This is some sort of cogged timing belt.
It's a cog belt. Boys for me off of there. I got it. Great company. Met them out at PRI. It's like your blower belt. It's 2.5 inches. Jones belt. You couldn't find for a nicer company to buy belts from. That guy has been super. Told him what I was doing. He gave me an approximate length, and he sends this cog belt out to me. And in defense of him, we weren't breaking the belts because of stress or tension, we were breaking them because when we had two pulleys misaligned, it was just threading it off one of the pulleys.
Yeah,
so if you actually if you look at, so we went from all extremes. We had a crankshaft pulley, just an aluminum pulley that has the same cog design, and we welded on a aluminum stop on the end, for example. If you watch my pull in Louisville, Kentucky this year, I started to come off the line, and pretty soon everybody's seen something go flying underneath the tractor. That was that ring that we had TIG welded onto the front of that aluminum pulley.
Oh, who welded that?
How much pressure that belt, it just sent that thing right off the end. So I had to call RCD Engineering here over the winter, and we're working on a idler pulley with a support system and trying to incorporate that all. But it's been a fun project. So we're going to go to Evansville and give it what we got and cross our fingers, hope for the best, and keep learning.
Interesting. Yeah, it's weird to think about how much is riding on that belt for sure, but I guess it's not too much different than our superchargers. I feel like blower belts used to be a breakage point, but nowadays I feel like if a blower belt breaks, it's because something in the engine is not happy. I mean, we put 30 passes on those things and hardly even think about changing them. I think we put new belts on both of them for Farley, Iowa last year, but those belts probably had 30 passes on them when we took them off.
Right. It's that whole concept is different. And the belt is an amazing thing. Profab Larry, just from being around Larry, he's got like this rubber band, I call it, that runs his oil pump, and he slips it off. I mean, he just pulls it off with his fingers. Like it is like a rubber band, and primes his motor up with it. And then that one time in Chapel Hill, he forgot to put the belt on. That didn't work out so well for him. It oiled up. But then he just slips it back on there, and I'm sitting over here fighting the belt problem like you wouldn't believe. And he's just, not torqued, not tightening, no belts, I mean, it just blows my mind what belts can do. But if you actually look at the Cummins Killer, they have a belt-driven injection pump on the front of that motor, which just baffles me. For a reference, our injection pump will take 150, 175 horsepower to turn just to spin that injection pump at full load. So how they're transferring that much power, which you guys know that's comes back to the comparison of what it takes to turn your superchargers.
Yeah, that is wild that people don't go to I can see to keep their harmonics off of it, but you'd think they'd even have I call them like a Lovejoy coupling where it allows some misalignment, and there's like the slightly triangulated, pocketed, synthetic, whether it's rubber or plastic in there, to kind of keep that driving, but they're not trying to rip each other apart either. Do people use stuff like that, or is primarily everybody's water injection pump just belt driven?
I'd say primarily everybody. I think, I don't want to speak for sure. I thought Jody was maybe with some type of coupler, like what you said, Tyler, where he was direct coupled. I don't know if you can have that. I suppose on the water, you could have that rubber in there, but you could never have that like on an injection pump, because that would change your pump timing based on that squeeze of that rubber, or on that part of it. You'd have to keep that accurate. But I was always impressed with the Cummins Killer when they went to a belt driven injection pump. That's pretty cool. But if you think of it, when you run dual overhead cams and all that, that's all chain driven. I mean, it stays in time within reason, so you go back through that on that portion. But so I don't know. I mean, we were just out of water. We were out of water with the pump system that we run. And this was just something I dreamed up. Like I said, every good thought comes out of Key West at a bar. And you think, and it took me a while, but one good Bud Light box and a good marker. And Larry, he had full thought on it. He knew how that would fit right into the CAD program and everything.
There she is right there, right?
There it is. Yep. So
that is a nice looking piece.
Pretty badass looking.
It just like everything Larry builds, it's really heavy duty. I mean, it'll withstand the tank to drive over, and it takes a crane to put it on. So it's awesome.
So where's that going to sit in your tractor?
It's actually down below the motor. So there's actually two arms that hang off the front of the motor. Then it hangs down below the frame rails. And then right there where you see it, that's where the water injection pumps will mount to there. And then on the back side that you can't see is where the oil pumps and fuel pump mount to it. And they just, avian pumps or my standard water pumps just bolt right into that.
Very cool.
It's pretty innovative.
Yeah, I got to give 98% of the credit to that to Larry.
Did he drink the Bud Lights too, or he would just?
No, I think he claimed that he had to build it sooner than he wanted to because his Miller Lite was getting a little bit of jealousy having that Bud Light box in the shop, so he had to get rid of that Bud Light box. So that's what finally pushed him over the edge to build that was, that Miller Lite jealousy.
I love it. How much water do those things go through in a pass, Travis?
Somewhere between 5 gallon and 8 gallon.
Yeah, dang.
So if you think of that, I explained this to somebody the other day. They're like, I don't understand why you guys are breaking stuff and whatever. So it's just for easy numbers. Say we use 6 gallon a minute in 10 seconds. And there's, we take that. So now we're pumping 36 gallon a minute in a 36 gallon per minute. Your average power washer, you go to the car wash, you're going to be pumping maybe 3.5, 4 gallon a minute. You go to, a buddy of mine's got a badass power washer for his heavy excavation equipment, and he's pumping 5 gallon a minute. We're pumping 36 gallon a minute through that pump. And at the end of that track, as soon as you pull out of that lever, that Busch drops and it slams the valve shut on that high pressure side of that pump. And that'd be like taking over to your power washer, putting a ball valve on there. No, Bruce is out there washing his farm equipment, and you just slam the valve shut about 3 times on him, and then it snaps the shaft off at the pump because it's pissed off, right?
Yeah,
it's mad. We've been pumping 1,200 psi of pressure, and you just slam me backwards.
Yeah,
that's what I think is the hardest thing on shafts. So they've been making the pumps better. They've been building them up and running them a little bit differently. So, but we've just pushed everything to extreme level, guys. I started in this sport 13 years ago. I built this tractor. I'm looking at my wife for advice on that. 13 years ago. And, for a rough number, we were making 3,200 horsepower with 3 turbochargers. So we now are making 5,000, 5,200. I don't care. It doesn't matter. 5,000 horsepower. The same cubic inch, same number of turbochargers. Yeah, we've went a little bigger on air, but what we do is we fight a vicious circle, or not a vicious circle. We're our own worst enemy. What we do is we say, okay, we need more boost. Okay, that's easy. Put a bigger turbo on. So you put a bigger turbo on. Now you don't have enough fuel. Okay, so get a better injector. Okay, so now we put a bigger injector in. Okay, well, now the injection pump won't pump enough fuel. So now we buy a new injection pump and we put more fuel. Now we got enough fuel to accommodate the air, but we'll just start to cycle over. Put a bigger turbo on. Now we need a bigger injector. Now we need a bigger injector pump. But at some point, we got to keep adding more water because we created more heat. So we just keep going in a full circle. We're our own worst enemy. But I love the class. It's an unlimited class. We don't have a bunch of rules. Our rules are 540 cubic inch and 30.5 tires. And I don't know, run what you brung. That's the cool thing. It isn't any different what Chase's dad, Dave, does in the unlimited. Rules just muddy water. I can tell you that. Rules make life difficult. So there is classes that we have to have rules, and I understand that, and I respect that. But when you get to the top level of every class, then that's why the rules are the rules they are. There's very few rules. And when I started 14 years ago, if you could run 3 turbochargers, which is 2 pressure stages, you could actually be 640 cubic inch. If you run 4 turbos, which is 3 pressure stages, then 3 turbos is 2 pressure stages, 4 turbos is 3 pressure stages, you could only be 540 cubic inch. I don't know why, and I'd have to go back to like an Esden Lane to figure out Esden or Blagraves to figure out why that rule ever got set that way. When I went and bought my motor from Hypermax Engineering, I had no clue. I had no idea how to plumb turbos. I didn't know how they worked. I didn't know how a multi-stage turbo went. I really didn't know nothing. I just thought this would be cool to do. And a good friend of mine, Barry Moore, said, well, if you build a diesel super, it'll be fun. Well, I can't say that he was wrong. But when I went to Hypermax and Jeff at Hyper said, I went and met him through a friend of mine, Kevin Hustlebus. We stopped by there on the way to Gordyville to go watch some tractor pulls. Talked to him, and he said, well, what do you want to build? I said, I want to build a diesel super. He said, okay, so you want to run, how many cubic inch you want? I can set you up in 504 cubic inch or a 504. And I said, well, the rules, why wouldn't I run like a 540? Well, you can. Yeah, we can start you with a 540. I said, but the rule says 600, 640. We just will start there.
Yeah.
He said, oh, no. I can blow your motor up with 540 cubic inch. We don't need to go to 600 cubic inch to blow it up. We'll just blow it up at 540 and we'll start right there. So that's why we started with 540.
What a polite way to say you don't need that much to make a mistake. Like, right. We can.
And after what I did learn is nobody was running over 540 except John Raymond's. I will give John his due. There was a couple guys trying it, but they really never did pioneer it. They couldn't keep it together. The sleeves were so thin, they were just in nuclear meltdown all the time. So great advice that Jeff gave me. He wanted to start me lower, and I'm like, let's go to the top, buddy.
Let's get really effed up.
Yeah. Let's just. I mean, we're gonna screw shit up. Let's screw shit up, and we did her. We screwed shit up.
Travis, I got to ask this question. The diesel super stock class, it seems like maybe 3 or 2 years ago, people were saying it was extinct, it was going to die. Now it seems like it's as strong as ever I've ever seen in my lifetime. Numbers are solid. Participants are good, but like, just to keep it real, we joke about in this podcast, you all have a hard time keeping your shit running. So how do you think you all can fix that? And like, give us the state of the union on your opinion on the diesel superclass currently.
The state, Chase, you hit it straight up. 3-4 years ago, 5 years ago, they were coming at us for limits. They wanted to put turbo limits on. They wanted to limit this. And the reason behind that, and I understand that, I understood it then from the sanctioning body, the promoters, them fans are paying to see tractors. And when we started, we'd start the night with 6 to 7 of us, and Saturday night we'd hope there's 3 of us. So we weren't putting on a good show. The world changed a little bit. I think we recognize that a little bit as pullers. Parts manufacturers recognize that and built better stuff. Earlier, when I was telling you about we add air, we add fuel, we make stuff better. In the middle of that, don't forget, then we start pounding rod bearings out. So, and then we start breaking pistons, and then we start on rods. So, I mean, it's not just air fuel. We took that motor from 3,200 horsepower and in 10 years took it to 5,200 horsepower. So, take your guys' horsepower on your mini rods and add another 1,000, 1,500 horse. You're going to go through some learning curves. I'll give credit where credit's due. I feel that Jody Ross has pushed that limit up to a plateau. If I could, we were all down here low at a 32, 3,000, 3,200. We were running good. 34, it didn't matter. The number doesn't matter. Jody and me fought each other in a non-combat way because he'd get a little better and me and Jeff at Hyper would get a little better. We kept fighting each other. Jody got up above us, and that's a compliment to Jody, and he got us up to that 5,000 plateau. I think we're plateaued off. I don't think in 2-3 more years you're going to hear us hitting 5,800 horsepower. I could be wrong. The boys out there at Colin and Kevin at Hypermax might be, they might have some super NASA stuff coming. I don't know that. We never quit trying, but I feel we're plateaued and we are now looking for longevity. That's something that I've been trying to work on in the last year to year and a half, is longevity. And Tyler, I was chuckling earlier when I was watching this and you were talking about the amount of time it takes to work on a pulling vehicle compared to your dad wanting an unlimited.
Yeah.
I love tractor pulling. I love what I'm doing, but I also got businesses to run. I got a family to have, and I don't want to come home every weekend and tear the motor out of this and put a new motor in and start over. There's a financial aspect to that, but set that off in the corner. You got to have the drive to do it.
Yes.
I have very good help. I got some shop help, Steve Niemmeyer, Link Cameron, Denny Healy puts my motors together. These guys pitch in and help. It's awesome, but none of us pullers have that full-time guy that they just know when that tractor comes in Monday morning, we got 2 guys on it and we're pulling things apart. And it's ready to go Wednesday night. There's maybe a few that got that, but 98% of the pullers, that's what makes our sport unique to NHRA, NASCAR, sprint car racing. Well, I don't even think sprint car boys tear them up as much as we do, but we're pushing everything to that envelope. So you got to have that fine balance. And that's where I feel that me, Kent Payne, Blake Graves, a lot of us and the builders, Hypermax, they're trying to build and find better stuff. But as this poll is, no practice podcast, it isn't like they can make 4 different sets of rods and say, all right, well, we're just going to send them out and test them. And then we'll have a final answer in the weekend. No, that doesn't work that way. But Chase, you're right. Our class has got stronger in the last 2 years. We've gained some pullers. It's kind of unique. Take the Holland, the Agco, Orange Holland, Kyle Holland there. Great guy, great family. They came from Light Pro, and I had a super farm and I left super farm because I was tired of paying $10,000 a year to gain 5 horsepower. Well, I don't know what I pay a year to keep horsepower under that hood, but it's way more than 10 grand. Kyle Holland was pulling a Light Pro, and I don't want to speak for him, but on the outside reading in, he got tired of all the rule changes and said, I'm just going to go build a diesel super and I can run my tractor and I'm not worried about, okay, I got a D cube or I got to raise cubes and we got to buy 4 different turbochargers because everybody's got the same as me. So we left some creativity. I think that's helped our class. But we had a bunch of group of outlaw guys, that were pulling outlaws. They were struggling on numbers. And so they've came over and we've just, our class has got back to a very nice size. It's not perfect. We're not 15 pullers at every single event, whatever, but we got a little work to do, but kudos to our class. We've done a good job of getting people there and getting them join in on our class and go. And we're putting on a better show the last 2 years.
And it's also, I don't want to say this is opinion based because there's data that has got me to this point, media and social data of what people engage with. Like fans, the most popular smoke class in pulling is a diesel super stock class, but it's only as popular as the show you put on. So,
and we got to have, and I don't want to say this wrong. I've had other officials in the NTPA world that have told me diesel super was one of the most asked for classes. And I was surprised because I thought pro stock would be. And diesel super, hands down, when a promoter got a hold of that diesel super class, very rarely did they want to get rid of that. Very rarely did they always want, that's my class, we want it, whatever. I felt bad for them. I apologized to a few of them there 3-4 years ago. I said, we didn't put you on a good show. Last year was we were on the struggle bus early in the year of putting on good shows. I was just on the outside, of course, in the position I'm in now with the NTPA board, I guess changed my perspective of life. When you're just a puller, I pull and I care about my tractor and a few of my buddies, and I don't care about the rest. Last year, I would step back and look at it from the promoter side of it. And there was a few, Hutchinson, Minnesota, absolutely train wreck from a diesel super perspective. We did not go up there. The fans didn't leave Hutchinson, Minnesota and go, man, that diesel super class was really badass. Didn't happen. Guarantee it. Not a one of them said it to me. Guarantee they didn't need to. By the end of the year, I had a gentleman walk up to me at Bowling Green and say, it's obvious to me that for diesel supers to put on a good show, you've got to have a good track. And I said, thank you. And we left it at that. We can't overcome a bad track very easy. And so when we got good tracks, we put on a better show. Now that's with every class. I'm not going to take that away, but there's other classes. It's easier to put that better show on. But when we have a bad class and it's just a bad track, it's a train wreck. It really is a train.
It's the same with unlimiteds too. And you know what those two classes have in common? The tires they run. So and the power they're putting down. So
yeah, I would say it's more so the horsepower to traction ratio. If you got something like a two-wheel drive, not to take anything away from that class, but the amount of power and the amount of contact pattern they have into that ground, I feel like that window of forgiveness just grows and grows for sure.
100%.
It's funny you had said, the last 10 years you kept comparing it to. One of the things I wanted to ask is, obviously your tractor today would be more competitive 10 years ago, as it would any class in tractor pulling. Which class do you think, if you took a modern day tractor and brought it back 10 years ago, which one would stand out the most?
You mean which one has grown the most, or
No,
which one?
Which one would be more dominant by a larger margin of victory? Like, clearly, I'd like to think I'm not so terrible that if I took my mini rod from today, threw it in a time machine, brought it back 10 years ago, I'd like to think I would kind of cover the field.
Right.
Do you feel the diesel super is that class specifically, where you say this class more than any other ones in the last 10 years, 10 years ago, a tractor couldn't hold a candle to it?
I think the pro stocks have gone the most. The pro stocks have just, that turbo technology is astronomical. I think pro stocks if you went, who gained the most, who's the most impressive, whatever. And okay, we'll go to that since we get to say this. Very limited rules. I think we finally put a cap on the pro stock turbocharger just to maybe throw the anchor out. We got one little fucking piece of rope around them, right? So that they weren't getting out of control. But if I'll give you a comparison, you do the pro stock comparison over 10 years, and then you go back and do a 4-1 limited pro, and then you go clear back to a super farm, just them three. That's a lower horsepower, power, middle, and upper. The pro stocks have made the biggest jump in equation, but we brought the 4-1s on this year. And we were talking about that last year. If you think about that, a 4-1 turbocharger, I'm just going to use some generic numbers. I'm not going to get down to anybody's exact number, but when them came out, that was a super farm that had a 3x3 turbocharger that they put a 4.1 charger on. It started with 1,900 horsepower at a 4-1 10 years ago, 12 years ago. It doesn't matter. Today's world, that's 2,900 horsepower. They gained 1,000 horsepower with not one more cubic inch and not one more 0.1 of a bigger turbocharger. So that turbocharger and water injection and fuel injection system gained them 1,000 horsepower, another 33% or 1/3 of their horse. So that gives kudos to all the turbocharger and injection pump builders. That's where that has came from. And super farms have also gained, from maybe they went from 1,200 to, a good super farm, maybe now it's 19. Guy across my alley right here, my concrete parking, runs a dyno service, and I stay in this shop. He stays over there because people come in. I enjoy talking to all the people that dyno. My biggest question to people that dyno when they come out of the dyno is, are you happy with your results? Yep, we are happy. We found some stuff and we're really happy. That's all I want to know. I don't want to know numbers. I don't care. I don't care what you did. Just being friendly. Are you happy with your results? And
That's fair.
So I try to stay out of that part of it.
Don't blame me there. You had mentioned you feel you're at a plateau now. 5 years ago, would you have said you felt like you were at a plateau and done climbing? Or did you envision being where you're at today 5 years ago?
I felt we were always climbing. Jeff over at Hypermax always used to say, we're building new products every day. We always got something new coming around the corner. Now, I don't know if that was because he wanted to get me more horsepower or wanted more money out of my pocket. I'm not sure which way that was. But,
there's always both.
There's always both. But
yeah.
I just feel if I look at what numbers we are, and I think Jody would back me up on this. I think, and I'll give credit to Jody. He's the one that kept pushing us. Jody and Colin. I shouldn't say just Jody. It was Jody, Colin, and the whole crew over there. But they kept, I'd make a little more horsepower than they'd make. Then at the end, they just made bigger grounds. And we won the championship 2 years in a row there, 2-3 years ago. I got complacent. I was winning. You won a championship. Why would you go put bigger turbochargers on? Why would you change anything? We were winning, right? And we weren't dominating. Me and old Kent Payne there, Rooster. I mean, I'd get first one night, he'd get second. The next night we'd flip-flop positions and we'd, punch each other in the shoulders and pick on each other. And we just had a great time. But, and that's when Jody had taken a year off and he was rebuilding, and man, did he rebuild. He come out and laid the licking on me and Kent. And I looked at Kent and I said, well, I don't have anything for him. So do you want to just pull for second, third place all year? Because we'll just let him have all the first places. So
that's a pretty badass feeling for those guys, though, that knowing your competitors are saying that.
Yeah. I mean, kudos to Jody and Colin. I've had that, and I, we joke around a lot. I enjoy them guys. We have a great class as far as working with each other, helping each other. I mean, we hit the track, we're competitors, but we got a great class in there, and we all have a good time. We talk to each other and help each other all we can.
What's the over and under on diesel super stocks that'll make all the hooks this year, Travis? Is it 2? Is it I think there'll be 15 plus at Evansville. How many do you think will be there? I think the schedule aligns up where it's a little more ideal, maybe, where you're not doing some of the crazy ass swings, but.
Yeah, NTPA threw us a little bone there. If you'd asked, my original number was maybe 5 of us that make every hook. I think we got a little better chance. We lost Napoleon, which helps. Napoleon was 5 weeks in a row when we had Napoleon, and so just taking that 1 week off there, giving us a little reprieve. And I feel bad for Napoleon because I liked the place. It was a great place, but we just couldn't keep everything together. That was just literally 5 weeks. So I think we'll hit 6, 7, or 8. I think if we could get 6 or 7,
okay.
And some of our pullers aren't, they'll tell you right in the beginning of the year that we're not going to make them all. We do got some new tractors coming out this year. David Henderson's going to bring the stray horse back. He has told us up front, I think from Kent Payne's putting that back together for him and doing some work on that for him. And he told Kent, I'm not going to run Grand National all season. You'll see me kind of probably in the Northwest. Yeah. The Toma, the Hutchinson, doesn't sound like he's going to make Evansville unless the stars all align. But so yeah, I think that'll help us, and that's what we've been. You guys are Chase, the minis and the 4-wheel drive diesel pickups are the bad guys for me to talk about getting a little reprieve on schedule because.
Well, the mini rods are all my fault because I pushed that, and I've had some conversations with friends that that there's only one person to blame for that, and that's me. So the other ones I can't take the blame for.
That's pretty usual though.
The 4-wheel drive diesel pickups, Chase, I've been throwing your name under the bus the whole time too. So
that one too. Yeah, I mean, it's all my fault. No, I mean, I get it.
He's good for it, Travis, for sure.
Yeah, he's tall.
So
and
how many diesel supers? All right, so I just want to revisit this as the summer goes on because we like to keep tabs on statements. You're saying 8 diesel supers through the summer. How many you think will be at Evansville roughly to start? I've heard 15 to 16. Is that accurate?
I think I would say 12 to 15. We get 12 to 15 diesel supers down there, Chase. I'm going to be happy.
Yeah, that's a strong number considering 2 or 3 years ago you couldn't fill.
Yeah, I mean it was, but dang it, it's tough. And you think, and the Pullers Championship's coming up next weekend, guys, and we've been down there before. And great facility, great group. Holzhauer that puts that on. I can't say enough great things about that and the way they do it. I think, and they get the money back to the Pullers. The whole thing is classy. There's nothing that you can say there but best deal going there. And I don't know why it seems that you just can't get everybody to get their stuff done by mid-May. And farming runs into it a little bit. And I think some of that is some of your diehard farmers. They're just like, well, we're not going to make it anyway. So maybe we ain't going to start working on our stuff early enough. And I don't, you can see that. I don't have no tires.
I was going to say,
so
coming from a hypocrite himself.
Yeah, I own three sets of those, and I don't have a tire in my shop. I'm sure that I'll bet my tire cutter calls me tomorrow and visits with me about that statement. And so yeah,
people watch this podcast, Travis. I don't know if you do that or not.
I did talk to him a week ago, and he's getting dang close, and we're going to ship them down here and get them going. But I don't know why it just seems like we can't get things going. I own two complete motors, and I don't know in 7 years if we've ever had 2 of them together at one time. So the second motor, I'm looking over it. The block somewhere around this shop, and the table is completely full of a crankshaft, rods, pistons, camshaft, and covers. Yep. So we're ready. Healy. He's ready. I'm ready for him to put that second motor together. And he mentioned, I think he told me the other day, he had a fair amount to do before he got to that second motor. So it doesn't seem like I'll be bringing a second motor to Evansville. The plus side is that if we blow her up the first night, we will not be working all night to put the second motor.
You'll be in the beer garden watching the second night.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
That ain't all bad. So speaking of longevity in your guys' class and needing a little bit of a break, pullers are always all 2-day events. We need 2-day events. We need 2-day events. Are you actually a fan of a single-day event, just giving how volatile your tractor is and the difficulty of keeping it going?
I don't know that it's really the number of days. It's the number of weeks in a row. When I was complaining about that, we were going 5 weekends in a row. So if you go to, it didn't matter. We were Fort Recovery, Ohio, Chapel Hill to Rockwell, Iowa, to Fort Recovery to Napoleon to Bowling Green, and so that the time you get home on some of them on a Sunday night and we need to roll this thing out. And if we got to pull it down and put rod bearings in it and pistons or anything like that, I mean, we're thrashing Monday and hopefully putting it together Tuesday and hoods and everything back on loading Wednesday so we can leave Thursday. At some point in there, we need to go to work. And, tired, mad, pissed off the world because we're fixing parts that we shouldn't have, maybe we thought we broke and whatever, however. So, we got spoiled in Grand National Pulling with all 2-day events. It was an interesting conversation. You bring that up, Tyler. Diggin' boys here about 2, 3, 4 years ago. Doesn't matter. They had a really good showing up in Hutchinson, Minnesota. Went to Toma, Wisconsin. Had a really good showing, and I think they left Toma, Wisconsin. If not in the lead, they were 1 point out of the lead of the championship.
They were in the lead. I remember this. Yeah.
Yep, they were in the lead. So, Joe and Bill Diggenhart, they're like, man, we're leading the Grand National points, and so they're like, hey, we're gonna run the series. Awesome. At the end of the year, we got the Napoleon. Us other pullers, we helped them all we could. They went to Napoleon instead of staying right out for Bowling Green. I took their truck from Napoleon over to Bowling Green, got them a parking spot, parked that, helped them out. Did everything we could, got them to Fort Recovery. We helped them all year as a group. We were like, this is awesome. Going. At the end of the year, I said to Joe out in Sandwich, Illinois, I said, so what'd you think of Grand National Pulling? He said, it's a lot more miles, but it's easier than region pulling. And I'm like, oh, weird, right? You usually pull around Wisconsin. You're 1 to 3, maybe 4 hours away from home. Here we're 8, 10, 12 hours away. And he's like, yeah, but he said, when you're region pulling, he said, we were trying to work till noon, 1 o'clock, then drive for 2, 3 hours, unload the tractor, get it teched, pull, load back up, leave at 11 o'clock. And it was 2, 3 in the morning, sleep, then try to go work the next day. Because we were going to these 1-day hooks on a Wednesday or a Thursday. He said, we had a lot of great region hooks, but he said, what we found was we just know that, hey, we're leaving Thursday and we're coming home Sunday. We missed Thursday and Friday, and we scheduled accordingly. So if a person can make that work, I had that same exact conversation with Kyle Holland last year, and where they farm and do all their cattle and whatever. He said, Trav, region pulling with the Diesel Super was easier on my family and my work life because I knew a schedule right up front. I'm going to be gone Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, be back Monday, and we're good to go. Where he said region, we were always constantly trying to go to a Tuesday night hook or a Thursday night hook. Now, we still need all them Tuesday night, Thursday nights to make all the county fairs and all that. But it was a concept when we first think of going regions, like, man, or Grand National, that is a major commitment. Maybe it's not as bad. If you've been region pulling, it's not as bad as what you think. So
I get what you're saying. You get to prioritize it. You commit to it. You're not trying to half-ass work and half-ass tractor pull. You're going to work. You have a cutoff, and you're done working. You're going tractor pulling. You know when you're leaving. You know when you're getting back. You're not spreading yourself quite as thin. That does make sense.
And you don't want to follow like Allison's schedule and Lisa Peterson's schedule and stuff like that. You don't want to follow their schedule. Because their requirement, you got to be at the pole like a day or 2 ahead of time. And then if you run with Larry Peterson, I mean, he's like nocturnal. He gets his days and nights mixed up and all that stuff. I mean, so you want to, be around you want to be careful of what group you're around. Because you can
I know what you're talking about. It's always late at Bowling Green when everybody else has settled down and the cops have finally kicked us all out of the campground. And we're touring around on the golf cart. You some bitches are always still up drinking beer, and we always pull in there. That's usually our last stop before we call it a night is right over in your camp. You guys are always good for like a 4:30 in the morning little nightcap, maybe 5 a.m. before you call it a night.
It's a final sign off, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Like a sound off check.
Travis, so appreciate all the diesel super stock context. Obviously, we talk about all topics. I don't know if there's anything we don't talk about on this show when it comes to pulling. I'm sure, Tyler, you might call me the floor on that, but you are involved in, as you said, a role with the NTPA now as a board member. And we oftentimes in the show call out decisions that you and all your compadres make. Doesn't mean we don't love you, but just like anything in this world, people have opinions. And I do, for what we call out, at least we have people like yourself willing to come on the show. Others don't answer the phone when we call. So with that being said, Travis, it's going to get right to it. I wish Adam would have stayed on. I guess he got busy, but this aluminum bell housing thing, would you care to share any insight on it? Decision being made? You know, people have opinions, and everyone has an opinion of everything, and there's no right or wrong. But like at the end of the day, my opinion is if there's a safety rule involved, I don't like. Do you think someone's trying to like screw somebody over? Like, no, I don't think they are. So maybe you can give a little context on why some of these decisions were made when it comes to aluminum bell housings. Because I think the intent was good. Maybe some people just need to know more. So that's my long-winded way of saying, tell us about the aluminum bell housings. Adam, if you're still listening, please come back on. I'm sure you'd love to chime in.
So I will tell you, and I won't shy away from any question. Let me give you kind of a summary in the beginning of this, though, is the way the NTPA WPI board. So if anybody's questioning and asking how this all works, there's 5 of us on the NTPA board and 5 of us on the WPI board. The NTPA board can meet separately. God, how long have I been doing this? 1.5 years, 2 years? Doesn't matter. I don't know that we've met separately over once or twice, and that was over a 5-minute conversation. So we are very joined in with the WPI board. So there's 10 people that have a vote. And I'm just going to be point blank, Chase, because I'm going to lay it right here. There is people that think Von Bauer runs the show. Von Bauer is a very good friend of mine. And when he asked me to be on the board, I said, first of all, why in the hell would you pick me? But after I got over that, they evidently did because they asked. I said, Vaughn, I got one stipulation. We're friends now, and we're going to be friends at the end of every meeting. We will not agree on everything. But as long as we can be friends when we're done, I'm fine. And so, and it's not just Vaughn. I treat everybody. Mark Pizik's a great guy. Jesse, Brad Benedict, Brian McDonald, them are all my NTPA guys. Dale Kwame, Scott Doty, Rick Austin, Ned. It isn't one person show. There's 10 people that vote on everything. As far as when it comes to the NTPA. Now we get to the business side of it. That's WPI. So if people ask me a question of a business relation, anything to the business side, whatever, you're going to hear my answer be, that's a WPI decision, because I wasn't part of that meeting. So we're all in this meeting, and we've got Marvin as,
hang on.
giving
So
us
competition related NTPA board is in their WPI board to make these decisions. Business wise, you're at.
right.
So much like, before you go on, I'm just kind of curious. So much like the NTPA board stays out of the WPI business decisions, does the WPI board stay out of the competition decisions?
I won't say they stay out of it, but they're involved in it. They will listen to us. The NTPA board, if we do our homework, we bring in the facts, we bring in everything, they'll listen to it. But there's a fine line in there of, does that rule affect WPI?
Okay.
If I went in there and said, okay, my new rule is, let's see.
We're going to start running street tires in the back of a diesel super stock.
My new rule is, Tyler, that your mini rod can only be 5 foot wide.
Mm.
Now, WPI is going to step in here and go, hey, we're probably going to lose 65 or 70 memberships this year because you just made this rule, and there ain't a single one of them that's going to make 5 foot wide.
Makes sense.
And then they also are very concerned about safety, which leads me into this clutch cam. So I will tell you guys, you are right here looking at one of the guys that fought the hardest to keep them aluminum clutch cans.
Oh,
Scream, yell, didn't matter, because me and everybody on that board were going to be friends at the end of that meeting. In the end, when you look at the big picture, I was very frustrated. I'll be honest with you. I felt, now, they brought up the issue of, would this aluminum can contain this clutch explosion? And there was, and if you, Ned's probably better, Rich is probably better at explaining this to me, but keep in mind, we adopt an SFI rule. This is kind of my summary of this. I might screw this up a little bit, so don't take every word for gospel. But
your phone's going to be not mine tomorrow.
My summary of this is, when something happens, say a clutch can explodes, I don't care what it is, a seatbelt breaks. Let's talk about a seatbelt that broke and somebody got killed, okay, or badly injured. The insurance companies now get involved. And I don't know if we've ever looked around at insurance company buildings, but most of them are multi-high rises. And they have floors of lawyers hired to beat people out of money or make sure they're not paying money. Well, what happens when we dictate an SFI rating on a seatbelt and somebody gets injured, that family, that whoever sues NTPA, we don't just get to take that lawsuit and hand it over to SFI, and they're not standing there with open arms going, oh, well, yeah, we made that rule. We'll take all that lawsuit. We'll pay this family off. SFI says, hey, we made a suggestion. You followed it. We did testing to the best of our ability. But by the way, you guys are still liable. So we don't get to get rid of any liability. So when you come to this clutch can, there was a question of whether it would hold with a billet flywheel of our current, what we're currently running. And it got kicked down the road, and it got kicked down the road, and whatever. And finally, long story short, you know, it wasn't getting done, and SFI was saying, no, you can't run it. And we were in a situation where once SFI says, no, you can't run it, then we can't run it. We can't, it's done over that day. So we were trying to say, all right, we need to test this. And if we can't run the aluminum clutch can, what can they run? How can we run it? What can we do? For me, I run a 12-inch clutch. So I was going to have to switch to a titanium or go back to a steel can and just change everything. We couldn't get steel can manufacturers. We couldn't get them made in time. It was just a disaster. And we were going to lose for a number, 50, 60% of our pullers that year. So once again, Tyler, that goes back to where WPI gets involved and goes, hey, wait a minute. We can't afford to lose all them because of this. So how do we work through all this together? So in the end, Brow took the clutch can in, got it tested. It passed. At that point, I'm thinking, okay, we're done. We're just good.
yeah.
But then the but comes.
Uh-oh.
The board.
Everything but.
Usually we like butts, but not in this case.
Not in this case. Then the but comes. So then the board looked at it and said, we still have concerns. And there was some people that had, you know, maybe had problems with aluminum clutch cans, had blown them apart and whatever. You're talking to the guy that fought the hardest and said, hey, that some bitch passed SFI, you know, whatever, however. I lost. I mean, I chuckled. I rode on this golf cart with Von Bauer when we made this final decision. Me and parked right next to each other. Told him it's kind of a good story. And we were going out. We had to go meet Greg Randall's trailer that morning at 9 o'clock. And I walk out of the holler and I'm kind of walking that way. Vaughn goes, you want to ride? And I'm like, yeah. take a ride because in about 20 minutes, I'm not sure that I'll get a ride back because me and Vaughn were not on the same page on that little clutch can. And there was a lot of discrepancies, and Vaughn, he didn't. I think Adam maybe had one blow up on him or tear up and on a mini rod and whatever it was. I don't know what it was. I don't know the details. But Vaughn was adamant that we needed better clutch cans than aluminum just for safety. So I thought I had everybody won in this trailer that I was going to win this. We were going to be able to have clutch cans. And that was right after old Trump dropped the mother of all bombs down that over in Iran that killed that the Ukraine or the uranium site or whatever. And Vaughn stood up, and I think he dropped that mother of all bombs right through the bottom of that trailer. And he said, give everybody another year and we're getting rid of them. And I lost all my support. You know, they all went and said, yep, that's realistic. So I was bummed. Guys, I did get a ride back. Vaughn gave me a ride back. So I was pissed. But I respect the democracy of the boards to where, and I did vote against it, by the way. So maybe it was an 8-2 vote, 9-1 vote. It was something, but I did let them know that I was against it. And I was pissed, but I respected the vote. I respect the boards because that's how it works. It's not Travis's polling. It's not, Ned's polling. It's not Marvin's polling. It's a group. And that's why we put a group together. And I was pissed for, it didn't matter, a while. And then I finally, driving down the road, I'm thinking whatever, and it wasn't 2-3 months ago, 6 months ago. It didn't matter. And there was a situation down in Florida, and I don't know all the details, but I'll give you a summary, where they had a 4-wheel drive or a mud bog event, blah, 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 whatever. And very unfortunately, some gentleman was stuck or in the mud bog or along the side, and he decided to dive into the mud swamp and whatever head first. And very unfortunately, he got paralyzed. That promoter, that landowner, that anybody that was involved, the jury awarded him $65 million. At that point, I said to myself, is that little bit of extra safety really such a bad idea? Because if you take a sport like NTPA, and God forsakes it ever happens, but if you take a sport like that and we injure somebody severely and we get hooked with a $65 million lawsuit, where is Poland tomorrow? So can I stand here, sit here, and take a little beating on the back because we got rid of the aluminum clutch cans? I will. Because I'll also take a lot more beating on my back if we lose our sport because we weren't pioneers. And my old good buddy Healy, so we went through this with all this SFI. I mean, I think I got a ream of paper printed out. I laughed earlier, Tyler, when you said you paid and downloaded the SFI program. By the time you read that, it takes a ream of paper and at least 3 highlighters to highlight everything that you're supposed to try to comprehend. And you got to read it 14 times different ways to try to figure out what you're doing on SFI.
That's right.
A bunch of lawyers wrote it, right?
Yeah,
they want
and
to
it is.
And they want to figure out a way to get the jury to get on their side, whether they're on that side or the wrong side.
They're not motorsports competitors. To say
It is funny, just to further Travis's point, the SFI spec I have pulled up, which is 47.3, it actually says a representation of compliance with SFI specification 47.3 is not an indication nor an assurance that the roll cage will provide adequate driver protection in all situations of a vehicle crash or mishap. It is suggested, however, that the roll cages that do not comply with these designs and construction quality assurance standards may not perform their intended function, nor might they provide adequate protection to a driver in a crash situation. So they're basically saying, we're not telling you if you build it like this, you're safe.
Right.
But we are saying it's likely if you don't build it like this, it might not be safe, which really is almost saying nothing at all.
Right. I mean, and there was times in meetings, guys. I mean, I was mad. I was like, I say we get rid of SFI. We just do it on our own. Well, that's utterly ridiculous, dumbest thought. But my emotion gets into it. Like we're all friends at the end, So, but when I looked at that, it was like, and Healy was giving me a hard time because there's a lot to this whole clutch can thing. I was using my tractor as a test. So it also said that you have to have 4 quadrant bolts in. Okay, that's good enough. Yep. And it also says that them bolts have to come from the motor side and be countersunk in, and then it tells you a dimension, whatever. We were threading our quadrant bolts into the rear engine plate. I said, well, we're not legal here. Well, so Dale Kwame and I have worked the last 2 years trying to get with all the manufacturers of rear engine plates and saying, how do we make this all work? How do we drag all of this in on a table in a courtroom and justify to the jury that we did everything we possibly could above and beyond any spec to create a safe environment for everybody?
Oh, and that precedent, I don't think you'll ever meet that.
And I don't think we are, but we don't want to sit back and just say, it's good enough. Yeah. I feel that if we went to a jury and said, we tried this, we went above and beyond. Yeah, we might have missed that. We tried. And are we perfect? Absolutely not. But we're trying to take everything and put it together and make sure that we can do it with the best of our ability. I don't know that it's a good thing. I felt bad for Brian Brow. I knew Brian Brow a little bit just from the working with him and fighting on the aluminum clutch can and trying to learn some things on that. Brian's coming out with a titanium. Boar's got a titanium. Trick Titanium's got a titanium. A lot of them didn't have the big 12-inch cans, which a lot of tractor guys run. You guys don't run them big cans, but we do. Got to have the starter pocket in it, blah, 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 whatever. So I feel them manufacturers, but Healy was giving me a hard time. He's like, you guys are just overcomplicating all this, whatever. And I said, you're exactly right. I said, it wasn't about a month and a half ago, Beer Money. They had the picture, a video of an old 560 or whatever up at Toma, and the old tractor split in half and it threw the driver right out over the hood. And and it reminded me of when he landed on that hood, he hit his ribs. It reminded me of that guy that was on the cab of the sled at that pole, when he bounced off the rails, his ribs had to hurt the next day.
You got to be careful bringing that up on here, Travis. That's a touchy subject.
Yeah. So I'm giggling, and I said to Healy, I said, well, I'll bet that guy wishes we'd have had a seatbelt rule a couple of years before he lost that tractor right in half, or we'd have had the tie bar rules, or we'd have had this rule, or we'd have had a roll cage rule. It's a hard thing. But in the position we're in, that's what we're in. And I'll take a beating. I really will. I hope it never happens. I hope we never have a clutch. Adam's got some good points on that. The clutch can that did explode, this might have been all rumor mill, but, supposedly the story that I got was he called the manufacturer on Monday and said, hey, your clutch can didn't hold up. And the manufacturer said, really? Can you send that back to me? He said, well, I modified it, but that modification that I did didn't have nothing to do with that clutch can holding up.
Oh, they never do.
So he's like, well, that's fine that you modified it. Go ahead and send it back to me. So I'd just like to see where it failed and what it failed on it. But he said, it's not okay that you modify it, but I'd still like to just see it. Well, guess what? That clutch can must have went to the scrap yard and got scrapped because it's gone. And I hurt there.
I asked Adam this earlier, and I mentioned it on one of the podcasts. I'm not as smart as any of you all, Adam included, or you board members, but I affiliate with very smart people. Chuck Ford is a follower to me and a close friend, and he's a brilliant mind. The first time he saw my mini rod tractor, and I had aluminum cannon at the time, he said, how in the F are they letting you do that? I said, what do you mean? He said, that is the most unsafe thing I've ever seen in my life. And I'm like, yeah, okay, whatever. Just make sure the clutch don't fall off. But as I've learned more, there is no other motorsport in the world that allows a supercharged engine with a flywheel clutch to run aluminum can. And that's what I was at. From what I understand, and I asked Adam and you that, Tyler, because that's what I've been told. And like,
Sure.
that's not fair to natural aspirated vehicles, but pulling is in its own lane when it comes to that. Because a guy like that who's in the drag race world sees that and he says, "You all are complete freaking the dumbest people I've ever seen in my life because that's not legal."
Right.
Well, it is interesting to hear Travis say, like, at one point, your emotions are getting the best of you, and you're like, "Forget SFI, we'll do our own thing." But kind of in a sense, you've almost done this with the clutch can thing. You're saying, like, well, it needs to meet SFI spec, but not all of them that meet the SFI spec are good enough, basically, right?
Well, and my reasoning behind that, Tyler, is I still feel that when I got to go to court and stand in front of that jury, sit on that stand, and that lawyer says, well, you didn't always follow SFI. You are correct. We didn't always follow it. We never went below it. We went above and beyond it.
Okay.
And so we took our sport and said, we're going to make it above and beyond what you're requiring because we want to be safer. We want to give a little more protection.
That's a fair point. I think the one I'm most shocked by, especially with Chase using the drag racing, kind of comparison, is I'm astonished that blower blankets aren't a requirement as supercharged classes. What is the discussion behind the scenes why those have not made an appearance yet?
So I'm the only turbo guy on the NTPA WPI board, right? I'm the sole guy, right?
Yeah.
And I say this if you ever get to where you sit in a meeting and listen to me, I've got to crack a joke every once in a while, because we're all in there for the same purpose. We're all in there for longevity to make the sport better and be successful. I don't think there's a one of us in there that's going to be, hanging their picture on a billboard because they did this. We're all in it for the same thing. But God dang it, I just lost my train of thought. What'd you ask, Tyler? That's terrible.
Blower blankets. What is the conversation that's kept those out? And I'm just curious. I don't want this rule to pass at the end of this season and have 73 people come up to me, smack me in the back of the head and say, "Hey, dumbass, I got to buy a blower blanket now. Thanks a lot." But I'm just
I laugh because if you look at us turbo boys, we've been taking a beating. We had to put crosses on our exhaust pipe, right? Then we got it. Then some of the guys had to put crosses over on their compressor wheels, in front of their compressors. Yeah. Then, boy, oh boy, remember the old turbo blanket on the 4.1 turbochargers? Holy buckets! I mean, we were running polars. We were getting mad, right? So one of the meetings, I'm sitting there, and like I said, I'll crack a joke, and I said, "All right, I've had enough." And I'll pick on my old buddy Joe Eater because I like Joe. I respect the hell out of him, and I do. I just picked a random unlimited guy right there, Joe Eater. I said, "You guys are worried about us throwing something in the crowd, piece off of our turbo or whatever. I got a hood over top of my motor, and we got Joe Eater over there that's kicking the rods out, running his mechanical manure spreader, kicking parts out, going down the track, never lets out. We don't care about Joe."
That's right.
They're a valid point. They got the same safety rules, all that. What I said. So I got an idea. We're going to build a great big steel box, and we're going to put a crane at the pole in the middle of the pole. He's going to have about 100, 200 foot of reach, and we'll build this steel box, and we'll just set it. When Dave Richardson pulls out there, this box will just set down and cover all of his engines. Just have like 8 little pipes out there for his exhaust. And then at the end, we'll just grab it with a crane. We'll pick it up. We'll use that same box. None of them like my idea. That didn't go anywhere, Tyler. So we're not doing that. I think Jesse Petro answered me. I asked the same question. What about this and what about that? I don't feel they've seen the breakage of what they had in the turbos. So the turbos was what started this conversation. When that turbo was exploding, it was throwing parts out through the pipes. It was throwing parts out the grill, which was landing, whatever. We got flagmen out there that we got to protect. We got people next door, whatever. So in that whole scenario, we were looking at what has our issues been. So I think we were being a little reactive. Do I feel they made them put them turbo pipes or the blankets over top of the turbocharger on the 4.1 outlet pipes, which we have now adapted more 2 classes to that. Boy, there was pushback. People were mad. Okay. But there was guys that was running aluminum piping to save weight.
Oh,
You had this piece of aluminum that's supposed to hold parts of this aluminum turbocharger that are spinning 130,000 RPM coming out the side. So a very good friend of mine, I got a very good friend of mine down at blew a turbocharger down in Zellwood, Florida this year, the first night or the second night. Brian Miller came back home, put the turbo on. Think much of it. I was like, well, we can go put a turbo on. You don't need to drive home. Now I'm just going to drive back. We're going to get it fixed. We're going to superhero this, whatever. Great deal. Got home, pulled the turbo off. Didn't think much of it. Kind of got looking around. He had a steel pipe, which we call muffler pipe, but it was steel, just same thing, steel exhaust. It had a hole the size of a baseball in the side of it that you couldn't see. And the blanket saved the parts from going in the stands. He called me up and said, I just want to tell you thank you, because that $500 blanket just cost me a $5,000 or saved me a $5,000 paint job. So there are some rules that after you get a year down the road, they do call you and thank you and say, thank you.
sure.
We hated you at the minute. Dean Halke, I think, was another one that called me up, and he'd had the same deal where he blew a turbo. That blanket did contain the shrapnel. So that's why I think Tyler, the blower guys haven't seen it. I don't have a leg to stand on saying we should put a blanket on a blower because I've never been around them enough. I'm the turbo guy. We've got enough blower guys over there.
With what you're saying with being proactive, I think that was probably a rule that might be at least a meter rod and a T-bucket because you're on top of it. Maybe that's something that should be looked at one day. Tyler, congrats on.
Yeah, I don't. So we actually used to run them, and Bruce was a proponent of them, and he felt like he couldn't suggest that we should run them, but not be running them ourselves before they were required. And so I didn't like them. I think they look dumb. Billet superchargers look sweet. I want to see it. I want to be able to walk up and feel the blower, that it's cool when my dad's tractor's running, just so it looks like I have something to do. So I'm not just standing there awkward, it's just something fun to do. Everybody does it. But at the same time, I struggle with trying to take the same mindset and logic defending the aluminum bell housing. And you don't have to reach very far to apply that same logic to the supercharger blanket.
What one is the other, and you should probably. I think it would be a good idea. I would be in favor of blanket on mini rods, supercharger.
I think a lot of it is, I think we have this concept of if it's made out of billet steel, it's stronger than just a regular.
Until it's not
aluminum is stronger than just a regular piece of aluminum.
Yeah, there's certainly cast aluminum blowers out there.
And I think you look at what size the parts are and what what do they break into. And I never seen it in person, but through that whole clutch can deal, how they build that is they take a steel flywheel and then they score it a certain millimeter depth into, I don't remember if it's 3 or 5 segments or whatever. And then they bolt that onto a machine, and then the can manufacturer comes in and then they pan over top of it. Okay. And then they spin that machine up to like 10,000 RPM. And then, of course, it's all documented. But this is all done in a room that is lined with 2-inch bridge planks. So that when this thing does explode, that wooden bridge plank absorbs all the metal that gets thrown out of that.
What a badass test process.
Oh, yeah. And they said when they explode, it's like a bomb going off. And you think of that. I mean, and that was some of my, my argument or my discussion helped me with that. I'm like, we're only spending them 6,000 RPM. Why are we testing them at 10,000 RPM? Well, you never know what's going to happen. And that's just a test that was wrote. So I don't know. I think in the end, like I said, I hope it never, ever happens. I hope nobody ever grenades a clutch. But if they do, I hope all the parts are within it.
You've only taken 30 minutes to explain this, and Adam had to leave. So thanks for taking all the time you can. And just the last thing on this topic, because we are going to have to wrap this show. This decision was not made by one person. It was a group that voted on it, right?
It was a group.
Can you tell us the vote count?
I'm pretty sure it was 9-1 because I was pissed off and sucking my thumb. I was the one.
I appreciate that insight. It's fun to think about. Was there discussion about our fenders, Travis, as to whether or not there should be a rule against those or no?
Oh yeah, Tyler, and I'm not scared to say it. I was probably the one that said, "Seriously, Tyler, really? That's what we're gonna have?" I'm like, and it was rule. I mean, it was, and I'm a talker.
Yeah,
I'm not a quiet guy. You're gonna know what I'm thinking.
Oh, you can lay it on me.
Oh, it took 40 minutes to explain the clutch cans. We got you on the talker part.
But I was like, really, Tyler? And then I said, all right, this is, come on. You got to be throwing dirt. You got to be throwing rocks. Things got to be coming off in every direction. And
did you look at the? Sorry, I should let you talk. I don't want to be a chase. My bad.
I think Bond says, yeah, it ain't any worse with Tyler than it is anybody else. I'm like, okay, well, I'm done. Next topic.
That's interesting insight, because really there was a lot of people that told me, they're like, you should not be able to run those. And they're like, there should be a ratio of tire coverage to fender surface area. And I'm like, in all honesty, if you look at some of the guys, like even your tractor, you look at fender coverage for tire exposure. I mean, mine looks ridiculous because that's not what it's supposed to look like, right? But really, if you look at like some of the diesel supers, alcohol supers, the tires don't really get covered. They're all fully exposed.
And the crew that the other rest of the board did explain that same thing to me. Tyler said, Trash, you might want to be careful. You're going to have to run full covered, Wheatland fenders or semi covers on yours or whatever. And that's the way I am. I like to ask questions. And they were like, no, and he meets the rules. I'm like, well, if he meets the rules, he meets the rules. And we don't feel it's a safety issue. We're good. We move on.
Fair enough. I've always wondered.
One other question I had here that I wanted to ask regarding SFI and clutches. I know I said I was done with them, but is the rumor true? Because I've heard this, that when they test those SFI bell housings, it's with the flywheel only, not the full clutch. Is that accurate?
I think, Chase, that is my understanding also.
So SFI, somebody needs to sue SFI.
Yeah. Well, you sign up on that. I'm busy.
Yeah. Chase, you heard the disclaimer. They know what they're doing over there. Travis, one more thing, not to just sound like a squeaky wheel here, but were you present for the feet inside the frame rule, or was that before your time?
That was before my time. But I will tell you, Tyler, I remember asking you, I don't know if you remember me asking you, it was before I was on the board, is I said I was at Nashville when you rolled her over, whatever. And I was standing 15 foot from you. And I remember saying to you, Tyler, I said, Tyler, do you want us to change the rule now, or would you like to have us name the rule after you're dead?
And what did I
your
say?
Choice. You said, I'm fine. It'll never happen to me.
Yeah.
And from standing there, now you were on the track. I'm 20 foot away standing. I mean, we were right in line with you. And that thing rolled over. And I mean, I just looked at you and I'm like, he was 6 inches away from having his foot caught underneath that header or pinned under the frame or something to where you couldn't jump right up. And I'm like, if that fuel catches fire, he's going to burn to death. And right, wrong, or indifferent, that was my opinion. That was my opinion. I'm like, I just didn't like that. But I wasn't even on the NTPA board. That was 4 or 5 years ago, wasn't it?
Yeah,
24.
I guess I'll take my chances pinned on a header. What makes me nervous is my feet in between that damn transmission and the frame rails, because I feel like if that trans blows, it's going to be a wild experience. But do you think that do you think it was a 10-0 vote on the feet there, Travis?
Ooh. I'm not even going to guess on that one. But I
No.
will tell you, when I seen Bruce's picture the other day, I had to chuckle to myself and said, Bruce put his feet back inside the frame rail and slid his cage back. So that just, I don't notice a lot, but I did notice that.
That's fair enough.
So, but yes, I was probably, whatever. But and am I right on everything? Unless I'm talking to my wife, I'm 100% right on that. But other than that, no, I'm not.
Well, you know what, Travis? Kudos to you for coming on
Yes.
as a competitor. Easy to talk about super stock pulling and the excitement around what's coming on, but letting us ask these tough questions. We are unsuccessful asking other entities to come on here. I asked Tyler to get them on, so I'd love to get you. Have an open invite. Please come on and talk about these rules anytime. I think the more transparent,
guys, if there's
I think the more transparent everyone can be in this sport, the more productive and the more less distraction there is. Just to keep it real and
I'm guys, we're working on things all the time. It's a nonstop, and we are a 100%. How did I mention that to one guy one day? I said, "Do you know what that NTPA board member check does to my income tax bracket? Nothing, zero. Because when you make $0, it doesn't affect your income tax bracket at all. So but we do it because we love it. I'm into politics. I'm the mayor of our town, fire department assistant chief before I
would never guess you're political after it took you 45 minutes.
I am political.
I could. He's very well spoken.
I do tell people we're working on the whole deal with the Outlaws and getting them and the NTPA all teamed up. I mean, that's a big process. But we all still got full-time jobs that we're trying to do also. And I've talked to a bunch. I'm working on a super farm deal to try to get them guys all merged together to where we run the same rules. Literally, they run all the same rules except a turbocharger. So we're trying to say, all right, how can we get this together and make polling better for everybody?
Well, I've said 1,000 times in this podcast, everyone should sit at the table and try to work together. It's unfortunate that can't happen. It's one of the only motorsports that operates that way, just to be very frank. But yeah.
So we're working on, and I'm working on, and I've got great people to work with on both sides. I've got great competitors on the NTPA. We used to run a lot of outlaw where we are here in Iowa. So I got people over there that we've known. I used to run super farm. So I kind of took this upon myself and said, all right, let's work this together. But what I'm getting at is it takes a little time. It takes a lot of communication, but in the end, we're trying to make it better for everybody. But I told a super farm poller the other day that called me. I said, hey, I'm not going to call you every week and give you an update of where I'm at on this process.
That's
but
fair.
If I'm in Evansville, Indiana, which I should be, and you want to come over and ask me and give me your additional thoughts or check with me where we're at, come over and see me. Don't do it 5 minutes before we pull. At the end of the night, everybody knows there's a red cooler outside of that trailer. It's got a cold sarsaparilla in it. Stop by, grab a beer. I don't care.
Even at 4 a.m. Someone's talking
4 a.m. I might be sleeping. I'm kind of trying to get out of that. But come visit. Come visit with all the NTPA board members. It doesn't matter who it is. That's something that, as a challenge, us board members have tried to do is be more transparent. Be out there for everybody. We don't have to wait till the end early to complain about a rule. Come to us, bring it up. Trying to make our rule book a little more friendly. I think it is over 3-4 years ago. Adam mentioned that there's a lot of new stuff. We're trying to actually highlight so you can pick up the rule book and go through, and it's in it'll say new, so you can say, oh, wonder what they changed here. So you can go read that rather than, well, who's going to read the entire rule book? Nobody. I'm realistic. So there is stuff that
Yeah, Travis,
try
I
it.
hate to interrupt you, but is there a mannequin and some rainbow clothes behind you?
Oh my goodness. Yeah. I wonder if Debbie's coming around.
Yeah, it looks
Yep.
like it.
Tyler, what we need to do is we need to send her home with you.
You think so?
Mm-hmm. Have you
Yeah,
ever
she
heard the story about Debbie?
Why don't you
She
tell
came-
it quick for those who haven't?
She came from us in Key West. So we're down in Key West and Hollow Keys and Brad Benedict and Ashley. So we go to Key West. Everybody just does their thing. We end up maybe at the same bar together. Doesn't matter. We go walking home, or we're going back to the house. So Dean Halkey bought this out of let's see, where did he buy that from? A closing up, a store that was going out of business. So he walks down Duval Street with this mannequin in his arms for like 6 or 8 blocks, and they drop that thing off. So that's all funny. We got this mannequin. Well, what do you do with a mannequin in Key West when you're on an airplane flying home? You ship it. So I'm telling you, you take that to the UPS store, and the UPS store politely tells you that they don't have a big enough box for your mannequin.
I love it.
So you go to the U-Haul store and you ship it home through U-Haul and FedEx or something like that. But $235 later, that mannequin made it to Iowa. And then that was our traveling trophy for last year. So every poll, somebody got the mannequin and they had to drop it off. We shoved it in everybody's toter home and everything like that. So I don't know how it ended up back here, but I'm thinking I will figure out a way to get that mannequin in Tyler Slaw's operation.
Okay. I would be absolutely honored. I'll make sure it has a prominent feature on the in the studio behind me if that happens.
It's the little things in life.
I love it.
Exactly.
I love it. All right, guys. Well, we're over 3 hours now. That's ridiculous. When we started this show, we said an hour tops will be plenty of time to cover all the things that we need to talk about in tractor pulling. And here we've been running our mouths for 3 hours. Travis, real quick before you go, is Jody a girl's name?
No.
No? Okay.
No, not going down that road.
That's
But
fair.
hey, I do got one for you guys.
Okay.
So and I probably could send this in, but you just will do it in person. It's better.
Yeah.
So out of the 3 of you, Tyler, Chase, and Adam, which one's Curly and which one's Mo? Larry will sum himself up. So that's maybe, you can address that next week when you got Adam on. We got to figure out Larry, Curly, and Mo.
Okay.
So put that on your list there, Tyler.
All right. I'll add it to the list for sure.
Are we having this show down in Evansville, Chase? I think he locked up on us.
Chase might be frozen. Yeah, we're planning to do the show at Evansville. We still got to figure out if Bruce is going to make the decision that we're taking our stuff to Evansville or not. It's all up to him as always. So yeah, but we'll try to work it in there for sure.
All right,
Chase?
Travis, who do you think Larry, Curly, and Mo is before you leave?
Yeah, I'm thinking Tyler's got Curly wrote right up, and Adam's going to be Mo. You can have Larry, Chase. You can have Larry.
Larry. So as long as it's not Larry Peterson, I'll live with that. I'll take Larry as a name anytime, just as long as it's not that Larry. But
that's fair.
No, Travis, thanks for joining us. Fans, we appreciate you all. Like always, been another big show every week. I do want to say this regarding going to the pool in Kentucky last week. Tyler, the fans of No Practice Podcast, it just gets bigger every time I go somewhere. So appreciative of everybody that makes this show go, and our guests and our fans and our people is what do it. And we are pretty proud of this, and we're going to keep it going. So, Travis, I'll see you here in a couple weeks. Tyler, good luck this weekend. Hopefully, we'll see you at the beer garden here in a couple weeks. If not, we'll heckle you for not being there.
Sounds good.
Thursday night.
Cheers, fellas.
All right, guys. Thanks. Have a good night. See you, fans.
Thank you.
That's a wrap.
Bye-bye.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of the No Practice Podcast.
Have a good one. Bye.
Stay tuned for the next episode, where we guarantee there's